Your mind is more powerful than you realize. Every thought, every choice, and every habit shapes not just your day, but your entire life. How you think affects how you feel, how you act, and ultimately what you achieve. If you want to take control of your life, improve your focus, and make decisions that truly move you forward, it starts here with training your mind. In this audiobook, you will learn how to notice your thoughts before they control you, direct your emotions instead of letting them drive you, and build daily habits that align with your goals. You'll discover practical ways to stay focused under pressure, turn setbacks into lessons, and protect your attention so you can learn, grow, and perform at your best. Each chapter gives clear, actionable steps you can apply immediately to see real change in your life. This is not about quick fixes or empty motivation. It's about developing mental strength, clarity, and discipline that lasts. You will be guided to strengthen your self-awareness, act consistently with your values, and integrate mind training into your daily routine. By the end, you will see how small, intentional changes in your thinking can lead to measurable improvements in confidence, resilience, and personal growth. If you are ready to take control of your thoughts and truly influence your life, this audiobook will show you how. Every principle you learn here is practical, applicable, and designed to help you grow every single day. Stay with me and start reshaping your mind and your results today. Chapter 1: Train your thoughts to shape daily choices and outcomes. The quality of a life is shaped long before big decisions appear, because it is quietly formed by thoughts that pass through the mind each day. Most people believe their choices come from circumstances or luck or pressure from others, but the truth is simpler and more demanding. Choices rise from thoughts. Actions follow thoughts. Outcomes are built from repeated actions. When thoughts remain unchecked, they quietly steer behavior without permission. When thoughts are trained, they become a tool instead of a trap. This chapter focuses on one central discipline that changes everything when practiced daily, which is learning how to train thoughts so daily choices improve and outcomes begin to shift in a steady and predictable way. Every morning the mind wakes up already active. Thoughts arrive before the body moves. Some thoughts are useful and grounded. Others are reactive, fearful, impatient, or heavy. The mind does not ask whether a thought is helpful before presenting it. It simply delivers based on habit, memory, and emotion. This is why many people feel stuck, repeating patterns they claim they want to escape. They attempt to change behavior without first shaping the thoughts that give birth to behavior. A person says they want better health yet thinks in ways that excuse delay. A person says they want calm yet feeds thoughts that rush and overwhelm. A person says they want confidence yet allows thoughts that weaken resolve. The work begins at the source. Training thoughts does not mean forcing positivity or denying reality. It means choosing which thoughts deserve attention and which do not. It means learning to pause before reacting. It means understanding that the mind is a working instrument that responds to guidance and repetition. The Stoic approach to thought training begins with accepting one truth. You do not control what appears in your mind, but you do control what you entertain. That single distinction creates freedom. At any moment the mind can produce a thought that says stop, try later, or avoid discomfort. It can also produce a thought that says act now, focus, stay steady. Both thoughts can appear within seconds of each other. The difference between a disciplined life and a scattered one often comes down to which thought is given authority. Authority is granted through attention. Whatever you return to repeatedly becomes stronger. Whatever you interrupt weakens over time. Daily choices are rarely dramatic. They happen quietly. The choice to scroll or read. The choice to speak or stay silent. The choice to delay or begin. The choice to react emotionally or respond calmly. These choices shape outcomes not because they are big, but because they are repeated. Training thought means slowing the process enough to see the choice before it locks in. That pause is where power lies. One practical way to begin training thoughts is to establish a short daily check-in with the mind. This does not require meditation or special posture. It requires honesty and consistency. At least once a day, stop for a minute and ask one simple question. What am I thinking right now, and where is it leading me? Do not judge the answer. Observe it. If the thought is leading toward clarity, effort, and calm, then allow it. If the thought is leading toward avoidance, anger, or confusion, then label it as unhelpful and redirect. Redirection does not require argument. It requires replacement. Choose a thought that leads to action instead of delay. Choose a thought that focuses on what can be done instead of what cannot. Another essential practice is learning to separate facts from interpretations. Many thoughts feel true because they are emotional. A thought like "this is too hard," or "this will fail," or "people will judge me" is not a fact. It is an interpretation. Facts are neutral. Interpretations carry emotion. When interpretations are mistaken for facts, they control behavior. Training the mind means slowing down enough to ask whether a thought describes reality or reacts to it. This single habit reduces unnecessary stress and sharpens decision-making. Consider a common situation. A task feels overwhelming. The thought appears that says, "This will take too long." That thought triggers tension and delay. Delay creates pressure. Pressure reinforces the original thought. The cycle continues. A trained mind interrupts this loop early. Instead of accepting the first thought, it replaces it with a simple directive thought, such as "start with one small step." That thought leads to action. Action reduces tension. Reduced tension weakens the original belief. The outcome improves because the thought was trained at the start. Thought training also requires awareness of emotional triggers. Emotions color thoughts and thoughts feed emotions. This feedback loop can work for or against progress. When tired, the mind leans toward negativity. When hungry, it leans toward impatience. When stressed, it leans toward extremes. Knowing this allows preparation. Instead of trusting every thought equally, learn to account for physical and emotional states. When energy is low, choose simple tasks. When emotions run high, delay important decisions. This is not weakness, it is discipline. One powerful way to strengthen thought training is through written reflection. Writing slows thinking and makes patterns visible. At the end of each day, write down one thought that helped and one that hindered. Keep it simple. Over time, patterns appear. You may notice repeated thoughts that drain energy or push toward avoidance. Awareness weakens their grip. Once seen, they can be replaced deliberately. Writing also reinforces helpful thoughts by giving them form. What is written becomes more real to the mind. Training thoughts also involves language. The words used internally shape perception. Harsh language creates pressure. Vague language creates confusion. Clear, firm language creates direction. Replace phrases like "I cannot" with "I will try one step." Replace phrases like "this is impossible" with "this requires patience." These shifts are not tricks. They change how the brain approaches effort. Language becomes a steering wheel. Stoic discipline emphasizes focusing on what is within control. Thoughts often wander toward outcomes, people, and events that cannot be controlled. This creates anxiety and distraction. A trained mind returns to controllable actions. Instead of thinking about whether something will succeed, think about whether effort is being applied. Instead of thinking about approval, think about integrity. This refocus calms the mind and strengthens resolve. Peace comes from alignment between thought and action. Another practice that shapes daily choices is premeditation. Before entering a challenging situation, take a moment to consider likely difficulties and choose how to think when they arise. This prevents surprise and reaction. If a meeting may include disagreement, decide in advance to listen and speak calmly. If a task may feel tedious, decide in advance to work steadily for a set time. This prepares the mind to stay steady when pressure appears. Preparation replaces panic. Thought training also means limiting mental clutter. The mind absorbs content constantly. News, conversations, social media, and entertainment feed thoughts, whether chosen or not. Be selective. Ask whether what is consumed strengthens clarity or weakens it. Reducing unnecessary input creates space for intentional thought. Silence is not empty. It is fertile. In quiet moments, the mind can be guided more easily. Daily choices improve when the mind operates from principles instead of moods. Principles are chosen in advance. Moods shift unpredictably. Decide what matters. Decide how effort will be applied. Decide how setbacks will be handled. When a thought conflicts with a principle, the principle wins. This removes inner debate. Life becomes simpler when rules are clear. Another essential aspect of thought training is patience. Change does not occur through one strong thought, but through many small ones repeated daily. The mind learns through consistency. Expecting immediate transformation leads to frustration. Frustration leads to abandoning the practice. Accept that progress is gradual. Measure success by effort and awareness, not by perfection. Each redirected thought is a win. Thoughts also shape identity. Repeated thoughts form beliefs about who you are. If the mind often thinks I quit or I avoid discomfort, then identity follows. If the mind often thinks I persist or I learn, then identity strengthens. Identity then influences future thoughts. This loop can be shaped deliberately. Choose thoughts that reinforce the person you aim to become. This is not pretending. It is practicing. When mistakes occur, the mind often turns against itself. Harsh self-talk weakens resolve and clouds judgment. A trained mind corrects without cruelty. It acknowledges error, then focuses on improvement. This preserves energy and keeps action moving forward. Discipline is firm but fair. Thought training must be practiced in real situations, not just reflection. When tension rises, notice the first thought. When delay tempts, notice the excuse. When emotion spikes, notice the story being told. These moments are training grounds. Do not wait for ideal conditions. Use daily life as practice. Every interaction, every task, every challenge is an opportunity to strengthen control over thought. One effective exercise is the pause. Before responding, take one breath. That breath creates space. In that space, choose the thought that leads to the best action. This simple habit prevents many regrets. It also builds confidence because actions feel intentional rather than reactive. Another useful practice is thought substitution. When an unhelpful thought appears, have a prepared alternative. This could be a simple phrase like stay steady or focus on effort. Preparation reduces hesitation. Over time, the new thought becomes automatic. This is how habits form. Training thoughts also requires humility. The mind resists change because it prefers familiar patterns even when they cause harm. Accept that improvement requires effort and repetition. There will be days when old thoughts dominate. Do not interpret this as failure. Interpret it as feedback. Return to practice. As thoughts become more disciplined, daily choices align more closely with values. Energy is spent more wisely. Stress decreases because fewer battles are fought internally. Outcomes improve not because luck changed, but because behavior did. This creates confidence rooted in effort rather than outcome. Confidence built this way is stable. The mind alters experience not by magic but by direction. Attention shapes perception. Perception shapes action. Action shapes results. This chain operates constantly whether guided or not. Taking responsibility for thought is taking responsibility for life. Begin simply. Choose one thought to train this week. Perhaps it is the thought that appears when effort is required. Replace avoidance with initiation. Or choose the thought that appears during stress. Replace panic with steadiness. Practice daily. Observe change. As this discipline deepens, the mind becomes an ally rather than an obstacle. Choices feel clearer. Actions feel aligned. Life feels directed rather than reactive. This is not a dramatic transformation, but a steady one. It is built quietly through daily attention. The chapter closes with a reminder that control of thought is the foundation of self-mastery. Without it, effort scatters. With it, progress compounds. Train thoughts patiently, firmly, and daily. The outcomes will follow because they always do. Chapter 2D. Build focused attention to influence behavior, habits, and results. Attention is the gatekeeper of behavior. Where attention rests, behavior follows without argument. Many people attempt to change habits by forcing action while their attention remains scattered. This creates struggle and short-lived results. Focused attention works differently. It does not fight the mind. It directs it. When attention is trained, habits begin to shift naturally because the mind stops leaking energy in too many directions. This chapter explores how focused attention quietly shapes behavior and why mastering it changes results without constant effort. Most days attention is pulled rather than placed. Notifications, interruptions, worries, and unfinished tasks compete for mental space. The mind jumps rapidly and feels busy but produces little depth. This constant switching weakens follow-through. Habits fail not because of lack of will but because attention never stays long enough to form consistency. Focus is not intensity, it is steadiness. It is the ability to remain with one task, one thought, or one action long enough for it to take root. Focused attention begins with understanding its cost. Every time attention shifts, there is a small loss of momentum. These losses accumulate. A task that requires 30 minutes stretches into hours. A habit that requires 10 minutes is postponed repeatedly. Recognizing this cost creates respect for attention. It becomes something to guard rather than spend carelessly. One practical way to build focused attention is to simplify the environment. The mind responds to cues. A cluttered space invites distraction. A clear space invites clarity. This does not require perfection. It requires intention. Remove what is not needed for the task at hand. Put away devices when they are not essential. Choose one place for focused work. The environment trains attention before effort is applied. Another essential practice is single tasking. The belief that multitasking saves time is misleading. It fragments attention and reduces quality. Choose one task and commit to it fully for a defined period. Even a short window builds the skill. When the mind wanders, gently bring it back without frustration. This repetition strengthens attention like a muscle. Each return is progress. Attention is also influenced by internal noise. Worry, planning, and rumination compete with the present moment. To manage this, write down concerns before starting focused work. This externalizes them and reduces mental load. The mind relaxes when it knows nothing important will be forgotten. This simple step increases presence and effectiveness. Focused attention shapes habits because habits rely on repetition under similar conditions. When attention is scattered, repetition breaks. When attention is steady, repetition becomes reliable. For example, a daily reading habit fails when attention drifts to messages or background noise. It succeeds when attention is protected for a set time. Over weeks, the habit becomes automatic. The mind associates focus with that activity and resistance fades. Another powerful technique is time blocking. Assign specific periods for specific actions. During that time, do only what was chosen. This removes decision fatigue. The mind relaxes when it knows what is expected. Even rest benefits from this clarity. Focused attention during rest improves recovery and prevents guilt. Training attention also requires managing energy. Focus weakens when the body is neglected. Sleep, nutrition, and movement support attention directly. Ignoring these creates unnecessary struggle. Respecting basic needs is not indulgence. It is preparation. A disciplined mind is supported by a disciplined routine. Attention is often lost to emotional reactions. Strong emotions hijack focus and push behavior toward impulse. Learning to notice emotional shifts early prevents derailment. When emotion rises, pause and name it silently. This creates distance. Distance restores choice. With practice, emotional awareness becomes faster and attention remains steadier. Another practice is setting clear criteria for success. Vague goals dilute attention. Clear standards sharpen it. Instead of thinking work on this project, think complete this specific step. The mind focuses more easily when the target is defined. Clarity reduces avoidance. Focused attention also improves results by improving learning. When attention is shallow, information passes quickly. When attention is deep, understanding grows. This applies to skills, relationships, and self-knowledge. Listening fully improves communication. Practicing fully improves skill. Reflecting fully improves judgment. Depth multiplies outcome. The Stoic perspective emphasizes directing attention toward what can be acted upon now. Attention wasted on speculation drains energy. Redirecting attention to present effort restores power. This does not ignore future planning. It prevents obsession. Planning has its time. Execution has its own. Another helpful method is limiting open loops. Unfinished tasks linger in the mind and steal attention. Close loops when possible. When not possible, schedule them. A trusted system frees attention. This reduces mental clutter and improves focus on the present task. Attention also follows interest. While discipline is required, interest can be cultivated. Connect tasks to values. Remind yourself why the work matters. Meaning strengthens attention. This does not require excitement. It requires purpose. Purpose sustains focus when motivation fades. Training attention involves practicing boredom tolerance. Many habits fail because the mind seeks stimulation. Learning to stay with simple tasks builds strength. Wash dishes without distraction. Walk without devices. Sit quietly for a few minutes daily. These exercises teach the mind that stillness is safe. Over time, focus improves across activities. Another important aspect is reducing self-interruption. Many distractions are internal. The urge to check, think, or adjust arises repeatedly. Notice the urge and delay it briefly. This builds impulse control. Delay weakens the urge. This skill transfers to other habits. Focused attention also shapes identity. A person who practices focus begins to see themselves as capable and reliable. This reinforces behavior. Identity and attention support each other. Choose behaviors that reinforce this identity daily. When setbacks occur, do not abandon the practice. Attention training is gradual. Some days focus is easier. Other days it is not. Consistency matters more than intensity. Short focused sessions are better than rare long ones. Build rhythm. Another practical step is reviewing attention at day's end. Ask where attention was well used and where it was wasted. This builds awareness. Awareness guides improvement. Avoid blame. Focus on adjustment. As attention becomes steadier, habits require less effort. Results become more predictable. Stress decreases because energy is not scattered. Confidence grows because follow-through improves. This confidence is grounded in evidence, not optimism. Focused attention is not isolation from life. It is engagement with intention. It allows presence in work and rest alike. It supports discipline without rigidity. It creates space for choice. The chapter ends with a reminder that attention is finite. Spend it deliberately. Protect it daily. Train it patiently. Behavior will align, habits will strengthen, and results will follow because attention leads them there. Chapter 30. Direct emotions consciously to change reactions, decisions, and direction. Emotions arrive quickly and leave traces long after the moment passes. They influence tone, posture, words, and timing. When left unchecked, they decide reactions without consent. When guided, they become signals instead of rulers. Directing emotions consciously does not mean suppressing them or pretending they do not exist. It means understanding their role and choosing how to respond when they appear. This skill changes decisions and alters direction because emotion often determines whether effort continues or stops. Every emotion carries information. Anger signals perceived injustice. Fear signals perceived threat. Sadness signals loss. Joy signals alignment. The problem begins when emotions are mistaken for commands. An emotion suggests a response but does not require obedience. A trained mind pauses long enough to read the signal before acting. That pause separates impulse from intention. Many poor decisions are not caused by lack of knowledge but by emotional momentum. A sharp word spoken in irritation changes a relationship. A rushed choice made in anxiety creates regret. A withdrawal made in discouragement delays progress. These outcomes are preventable when emotion is directed rather than followed. The first step in emotional direction is recognition. Emotions intensify when ignored. They soften when acknowledged. Naming an emotion silently creates space. This simple act shifts activity from reaction to awareness. Awareness restores choice. Choice restores control. Another essential practice is understanding the physical nature of emotion. Emotions live in the body as much as the mind. Tight shoulders, rapid breathing, clenched jaw are signs. Learning to notice these cues early allows adjustment. Slowing breath, relaxing posture, or stepping away briefly calms the nervous system. This physical regulation reduces emotional intensity and prevents escalation. Stoic discipline teaches that events themselves are neutral. It is interpretation that creates emotional charge. When a situation triggers emotion, examine the interpretation. Ask what assumption is being made. Challenge it gently. This does not deny feeling. It reduces distortion. Clear interpretation leads to calmer response. Directing emotions also requires separating feeling from action. Feeling anger does not require acting angrily. Feeling fear does not require avoidance. Feeling excitement does not require recklessness. This separation is practiced through delay. Give emotions time to peak and pass before deciding. Time restores balance. Another practical method is preparing emotional responses in advance. Anticipate situations that usually trigger strong emotion. Decide how to respond before they occur. This reduces surprise and reaction. Preparation transforms vulnerability into readiness. Emotions influence decisions most strongly when energy is low. Fatigue lowers tolerance. Hunger increases irritability. Stress magnifies perception. Managing basic needs protects emotional stability. This is discipline, not comfort-seeking. Language also directs emotion. Internal dialogue can intensify or soothe. Harsh words escalate tension. Calm, firm words stabilize. Choose language that acknowledges feeling without fueling it. This practice shapes emotional climate over time. Emotions often seek expression. Suppression leads to build-up. Healthy expression releases pressure. This does not require confrontation or drama. Writing, movement, or quiet reflection allows emotion to move without harm. Release prevents spillover into unrelated decisions. Another important practice is perspective shifting. Strong emotions narrow focus. Deliberately widen it. Consider long-term impact rather than immediate relief. This restores proportion. Decisions improve when guided by values rather than momentary feeling. Emotional direction also strengthens resilience. Setbacks trigger disappointment. Disappointment can lead to quitting or learning. The difference lies in response. A disciplined response acknowledges loss, then redirects energy toward improvement. This builds endurance. Training this skill requires repetition. Emotions will still arise. The goal is not absence but guidance. Each time an emotion is noticed and redirected, the skill strengthens. Progress accumulates quietly. Emotional awareness improves relationships. Responding instead of reacting builds trust. Listening without defensiveness deepens understanding. Calm presence influences others without force. This influence arises from self-mastery. Another useful exercise is reviewing emotional responses daily. Identify one moment where emotion was handled well and one where improvement is possible. This reflection builds insight without judgment. Emotions also affect direction over time. Repeated emotional reactions create patterns. Avoidance leads to stagnation. Courage leads to growth. Choose responses that align with long-term aims. Direction follows consistency. Directing emotions does not remove difficulty. It removes unnecessary damage. Life remains challenging. Responses become wiser. As this discipline develops, decisions feel steadier. Regret decreases. Confidence grows because actions align with values. This confidence is quiet and stable. Emotional direction is a daily practice. It requires patience, honesty, and effort. It rewards with clarity, strength, and forward movement. Mastery begins with attention and continues with choice. The chapter closes with a reminder that emotions are powerful forces. Guided, they support progress. Unguided, they scatter effort. Direct them consciously and life moves with intention rather than impulse. Chapter 4. Practice disciplined thinking to reduce stress and increase clarity. Stress often feels like something imposed from the outside, yet most of its weight is carried inside the mind. Events arrive and pass, but thinking about them lingers, multiplies, and twists them into pressure. Disciplined thinking is the skill that untangles this process. It does not remove responsibility or challenge. It removes confusion. When thinking becomes ordered, stress loses its grip and clarity replaces noise. This chapter focuses on how disciplined thinking can be practiced daily to calm the mind and sharpen judgment. Undisciplined thinking drifts. It jumps between worries, unfinished tasks, imagined outcomes, and past mistakes. This movement feels busy but produces little insight. The mind mistakes motion for progress. Disciplined thinking slows this movement and gives it direction. It asks what matters now and what can be acted upon. This single shift reduces mental strain immediately. Stress grows when the mind tries to carry too much at once. Thoughts pile up without structure. The solution is not thinking less but thinking better. Disciplined thinking organizes mental effort. It assigns problems their proper size. It separates urgent from important. It places each concern in its rightful place. Order creates relief. One practical way to begin is to externalize thoughts. When concerns remain inside the mind, they feel heavier. Writing them down gives them boundaries. Once written, they can be addressed one by one. This practice prevents mental looping. The mind relaxes when it sees a plan forming. Another key practice is questioning assumptions. Stressful thoughts often contain hidden conclusions. Statements like "this will never work" or "everything depends on this moment" exaggerate reality. Disciplined thinking challenges these assumptions calmly. It asks what evidence exists and what alternatives are possible. This does not guarantee success. It restores balance. Clarity improves when thinking is anchored in facts. Emotions color perception. Facts ground it. When stress rises, identify what is known and what is imagined. This separation reduces unnecessary fear. Decisions improve when based on what is real rather than what is feared. Stoic discipline teaches focusing on what lies within control. Stress increases when attention drifts to outcomes beyond influence. Redirecting thought to effort restores agency. This practice transforms anxiety into action. Action reduces stress by replacing helplessness with movement. Another useful method is setting thinking boundaries. Allocate specific times for planning and problem solving. Outside those times, return attention to present tasks. This prevents constant mental rehearsal. The mind benefits from structure just as the body does. Disciplined thinking also involves precision. Vague thoughts create vague stress. Clear definitions reduce it. Instead of thinking something is wrong, identify exactly what requires attention. Specificity turns worry into tasks. Tasks can be handled. Worry cannot. Mental discipline improves clarity by reducing emotional reasoning. Emotional reasoning treats feelings as facts. Disciplined thinking acknowledges feelings without letting them dictate conclusions. This distinction prevents impulsive decisions and regret. Another practice is prioritization. Not all problems deserve equal attention. Disciplined thinking ranks issues based on impact and timing. This prevents overwhelm. Energy is conserved for what matters most. Stress often comes from unresolved decisions. Indecision keeps the mind spinning. Disciplined thinking sets criteria and chooses. Even imperfect decisions reduce stress because they end internal debate. Adjustment can follow. Movement is better than stagnation. Clarity also improves when thinking is simplified. Complex explanations often hide avoidance. Simple statements reveal truth. Ask what is the next right step. Focus there. Simplicity reduces mental fatigue. Another powerful tool is mental rehearsal. Before entering challenging situations, imagine responding calmly and deliberately. This prepares the mind. Prepared minds experience less stress because they recognize patterns. Familiarity reduces threat. Disciplined thinking requires rest. Exhausted minds exaggerate problems. Adequate rest supports clarity. This is not indulgence. It is maintenance. Clear thinking depends on a functioning system. Language shapes thinking. Dramatic language inflates stress. Neutral language contains it. Replace extreme words with accurate ones. This adjustment changes emotional tone. Calm language supports calm thought. Another habit that builds clarity is reviewing decisions. Reflect on outcomes without self-attack. Identify what worked and what did not. This builds wisdom. Wisdom reduces future stress by improving judgment. Mental discipline also includes accepting uncertainty. Seeking absolute certainty creates tension. Disciplined thinking accepts probability and prepares accordingly. This acceptance frees energy. Stress diminishes as trust in thinking grows. Confidence in judgment reduces fear. This confidence is built through practice, not affirmation. Each clear decision reinforces it. Disciplined thinking improves relationships. Clear communication reduces misunderstanding. Calm reasoning prevents escalation. This creates stability. The practice requires patience. Old habits of rumination will return. Do not resist them aggressively. Redirect gently. Persistence reshapes patterns. Over time, stress becomes a signal rather than a burden. It indicates where thinking needs adjustment. Responding early prevents accumulation. Clarity is not constant calm. It is steadiness amid change. Disciplined thinking provides this steadiness. It allows engagement without overwhelm. The chapter concludes with the reminder that the mind can be trained to serve rather than strain. Order reduces pressure. Clarity guides action. Practice disciplined thinking daily and stress will lose its power as understanding grows. Chapter 5. Choose empowering beliefs that guide actions during daily challenges. Beliefs operate quietly in the background of every decision. They shape what feels possible, what feels risky, and what feels pointless. Most people do not choose their beliefs deliberately. They inherit them from past experiences, repeated failures, praise, criticism, and the opinions of others. Once formed, these beliefs guide action automatically. When beliefs are limiting, effort weakens during challenge. When beliefs are empowering, action continues even when conditions are difficult. This chapter focuses on learning how to choose beliefs consciously so daily challenges become opportunities for strength rather than reasons to retreat. Every challenge activates a belief. When difficulty appears, the mind quickly answers an unspoken question: can I handle this or not? That answer is not based on the challenge itself, but on belief. Two people can face the same obstacle and respond differently. One withdraws, one persists. The difference lies in what they believe about effort, capability, and growth. Changing outcomes requires changing that inner answer. Empowering beliefs are not fantasies. They are practical perspectives that support action. A belief like effort improves skill, encourages persistence. A belief like discomfort is temporary, supports endurance. A belief like mistakes teach something useful, promotes learning. These beliefs do not deny difficulty. They provide a reason to stay engaged. Limiting beliefs often sound reasonable. Statements such as "I am not good at this" or "this always goes wrong" feel familiar. Familiarity gives them authority. Yet these beliefs are conclusions drawn from limited evidence. Disciplined belief selection requires questioning these conclusions. Ask when the belief was formed and whether it still serves growth. Many beliefs are outdated. Updating them restores momentum. One effective way to identify beliefs is to observe language used during challenge. Pay attention to phrases that appear internally. Words like always, never, or cannot signal rigid belief. Rigid beliefs restrict options. Flexible beliefs expand them. Replace rigid language with conditional language. This shift opens space for action. Beliefs influence behavior through expectation. Expectation shapes effort. If failure is expected, effort decreases. If progress is expected, effort increases. Choosing beliefs that support effort changes behavior without force. This is why belief work is foundational. Empowering beliefs must be tested through action. Belief without evidence remains weak. Choose a belief and act in alignment. Observe the result. Even small evidence strengthens belief. Over time, belief becomes internalized through experience. Another important aspect is separating belief from identity. Many limiting beliefs are tied to self-image. Statements like "I am not disciplined" or "I am not confident" merge behavior with identity. This fusion makes change feel threatening. Replace identity statements with behavior statements. Behavior can change, identity evolves through behavior. Beliefs also affect emotional response. Empowering beliefs soften emotional spikes. When setbacks occur, a belief like "this is part of learning" reduces frustration. Emotional stability supports continued action. Belief selection should align with values. Values provide direction. Beliefs provide fuel. When beliefs support values, effort feels meaningful. Meaning sustains action longer than motivation. Another practical method is writing belief statements deliberately. Choose statements that encourage action under stress. Keep them realistic. Read them daily. This repetition familiarizes the mind with new perspectives. Familiarity reduces resistance. Beliefs are reinforced by environment. Surroundings influence what feels normal. Seek input that supports growth. Limit exposure to voices that reinforce helplessness. This is not avoidance. It is curation. Challenges test belief strength. When belief wavers, return to evidence. Recall past effort that led to improvement. Memory supports belief when emotion fluctuates. Beliefs also influence interpretation of feedback. Empowering beliefs view feedback as information. Limiting beliefs view it as judgment. This difference affects learning. Choose beliefs that welcome correction. Another powerful belief is responsibility. Believing that response is within control restores agency. Agency reduces helplessness. Helplessness drains energy. Belief selection is ongoing. New challenges require adjustment. Remain flexible. Flexibility is strength. Empowering beliefs do not guarantee ease. They guarantee direction. Direction prevents stagnation. Over time, chosen beliefs shape character. Character shapes destiny through daily action. The chapter ends with the reminder that beliefs guide action quietly but powerfully. Choose them deliberately. Let them support effort during challenge. Action will follow belief and growth will follow action. Chapter 6. Strengthen self-awareness to notice thoughts before they control. Most people believe they are in control of their actions, yet many actions begin long before awareness appears. A thought flashes, an emotion follows, the body reacts, and only afterward does the person realize what happened. This delay is where control is lost. Self-awareness closes that gap. It allows thoughts to be noticed early, before they harden into reactions. Strengthening self-awareness is not about becoming passive or overly reflective. It is about seeing clearly in real time so choice replaces habit. Thoughts move quickly. They comment, judge, predict, and compare without asking permission. When unnoticed, they feel like truth. When noticed, they are revealed as mental events rather than commands. This distinction is the foundation of self-mastery. Awareness does not stop thoughts from arising. It stops them from silently deciding behavior. Self-awareness begins with attention to the present moment. The mind often lives in anticipation or memory. Anticipation creates tension. Memory creates regret. Neither helps with what must be done now. Training awareness means gently returning attention to what is happening in this moment. This practice stabilizes the mind and reduces automatic behavior. One simple way to build awareness is through body observation. The body often reacts before the mind understands. Tightness, restlessness, shallow breathing signal internal activity. Noticing these signs early provides warning. Awareness at the physical level interrupts unconscious reaction. This creates time to choose a response. Another essential practice is thought labeling. When a thought appears, label it simply as thinking. This removes identification. Instead of becoming the thought, you observe it. Observation creates distance. Distance creates freedom. This practice weakens the grip of recurring mental patterns. Self-awareness also involves recognizing emotional patterns. Certain situations trigger predictable responses. Identifying these triggers reduces surprise. Reduced surprise improves control. Preparation replaces reaction. Stoic discipline emphasizes examining impressions before accepting them. An impression is the initial thought about an event. It is not yet judgment. Awareness allows this examination. Ask whether the impression is accurate or exaggerated. This questioning prevents impulsive decisions. Self-awareness grows through daily reflection. Review moments when reactions occurred quickly. Identify the thought that preceded them. This retrospective awareness sharpens future perception. Learning occurs through honest observation, not criticism. Another practice is slowing down transitions. Many reactions occur during transitions between tasks or environments. Pause briefly when switching activities. This reset increases presence and reduces carryover stress. Awareness also requires honesty. The mind often justifies behavior after the fact. Self-awareness notices this tendency without defensiveness. Truth strengthens discipline. Another useful method is setting awareness anchors. Choose routine activities as reminders to check in with the mind. Washing hands, walking, entering a room can become cues. These small pauses accumulate into heightened awareness throughout the day. Self-awareness improves communication. Noticing internal reactions while listening prevents defensive responses. This creates understanding. Understanding improves relationships. Awareness also protects energy. Unnoticed thoughts drain attention. Noticing them allows redirection. Energy is conserved for purposeful action. The practice requires patience. Awareness develops gradually. There will be moments of forgetting. Return gently. Progress lies in consistency. Over time, self-awareness becomes natural. Thoughts are noticed sooner. Reactions slow. Choices align with values. The chapter closes with a reminder that awareness precedes control. Strengthen awareness daily. Notice thoughts early. Choice will replace impulse and direction will replace drift. Chapter 7. And apply consistent habits that align mind goals and behavior. Intentions shape direction, but habits determine movement. Many people think clearly about what they want yet live differently each day. This gap between understanding and behavior creates frustration. The mind sets goals while habits carry out routines that may not support them. Alignment closes this gap. When habits are consistent and connected to clear goals, effort becomes smoother and progress becomes reliable. This chapter focuses on applying habits that bring the mind and behavior into agreement so daily actions reinforce long-term aims. Habits operate beneath conscious effort. They reduce the need for constant decision-making. When habits support goals, progress feels natural. When habits conflict with goals, progress feels forced. The struggle many people feel is not a lack of motivation, but a misalignment between what they want and what they repeatedly do. Correcting this misalignment begins with choosing habits deliberately. Consistency matters more than intensity. A small habit practiced daily outperforms a large habit practiced occasionally. The mind learns through repetition. Each repetition reinforces a neural path. Over time, effort decreases and automaticity increases. This is why consistency is powerful. It transforms effort into routine. To align habits with goals, start by clarifying what matters. Vague goals lead to scattered habits. Clear goals invite specific actions. Instead of aiming to improve life, identify what improvement looks like in behavior. Behavior is measurable. It can be practiced. It can be repeated. Another key principle is starting small. Large habits fail because they demand too much change too quickly. Small habits succeed because they fit into existing routines. They lower resistance. Once established, they can expand naturally. This approach respects how change actually occurs. Habits should be tied to existing cues. The mind responds to patterns. Attach new habits to familiar actions. This reduces forgetting and friction. The easier a habit fits into daily life, the more likely it will persist. Alignment also requires removing habits that undermine goals. This does not require drastic elimination. It requires awareness and substitution. Replace rather than resist. Substitution preserves momentum. Habits shape identity through repetition. Each time a habit is practiced, it sends a signal about who you are. Over time, this identity reinforces the habit. Choose habits that support the identity you want to build. Identity-based habits last longer. Consistency benefits from structure. Fixed times and locations reduce decision fatigue. When the mind knows when and where a habit occurs, resistance decreases. Predictability supports discipline. Another important aspect is tracking. Tracking brings awareness. Awareness supports adjustment. Keep records simple. Focus on consistency rather than perfection. Missed days are feedback, not failure. Habits should support energy, not drain it. Align habits with natural rhythms. Work with the body, not against it. This increases sustainability. Mental habits are as important as physical ones. Habits of thought influence mood and behavior. Choose mental practices that reinforce focus, calm, and effort. These habits shape internal environment. Consistency also requires patience. Results may not appear immediately. Trust the process. Progress compounds quietly. Environmental design supports habit alignment. Arrange surroundings to make desired habits easier and undesired ones harder. This reduces reliance on willpower. Another helpful practice is habit review. Periodically assess whether habits still serve goals. Adjust as goals evolve. Flexibility prevents stagnation. Consistency builds confidence. Confidence reinforces consistency. This positive loop strengthens discipline. Habits also influence emotional stability. Predictable routines create safety. Safety reduces stress. Reduced stress supports clearer thinking. When setbacks occur, return to basics. Resume the smallest version of the habit. Momentum rebuilds quickly. Habits aligned with goals reduce inner conflict. Actions feel purposeful. This alignment brings satisfaction. Over time, aligned habits shape outcomes. Outcomes reflect effort, not intention. The chapter concludes with the reminder that habits are the bridge between thought and result. Build them carefully. Practice them consistently. Alignment will turn intention into reality. Chapter 80. Develop calm focus to respond wisely under pressure. Pressure sharpens the edges of any task, and it also reveals how prepared a person truly is. In high-stakes moments, thoughts speed up, body sensations intensify, and choices feel narrower. Calm focus is the skill that widens perception under stress and allows deliberate action to replace impulsive reaction. This quality is not a natural gift reserved for a few. It is a habit that can be trained through clear routines, physical regulation, and purposeful mental practices, so that pressure becomes a test of skill rather than a source of collapse. Begin by recognizing how the body signals rising pressure. Notice the heat in the face, the quickened breath, the tightening in the chest, or the sudden rush of thoughts. These sensations are useful information about the nervous system moving from a calm state toward activation. Naming these sensations without judgment reduces their power. A quiet internal statement such as breathing fast or shoulders tight converts chaos into data and creates an opening to act. Control over pressure begins with breath. Slow, steady breathing changes physiology faster than most words. When breath becomes shallow and hurried, take 3 measured inhales and exhales, focused on the exhale. This simple physical shift reduces adrenaline and restores clearer thinking. Practice this breathing pattern when calm so it becomes automatic under strain. The body then recognizes the rhythm and moves toward balance more quickly. Training calm focus also requires selective attention. Under pressure, many irrelevant details demand notice and distract from what matters. Choose an anchor to hold attention. It might be the edges of a document, a single metric on a screen, or the sound of your own breath. Use that anchor to return attention whenever it drifts. Repeated returns strengthen the ability to hold steady in noisy situations. Mental framing changes how pressure is interpreted. Instead of viewing high demand as a threat, see it as a challenge that calls for skillful response. This shift does not deny difficulty. It simply changes the internal script so energy is directed toward problem solving rather than defeat. Rehearse this frame before stressful events so it is available when it matters. Preparation reduces the element of surprise, which is a major driver of panic. Anticipate likely problems and run short mental rehearsals of responses. Visualize the scene with sensory detail, imagine the steps to take, and feel the calm steadiness of executing them. This mental simulation builds a template that the brain can follow when reality unfolds. Physical readiness supports mental calm. Hydration, sleep, and movement influence resilience under strain. A body that is well tended handles pressure with more stability. Include short movement breaks in the day to keep circulation clear and to discharge low-level tension before it accumulates into a crisis. Create short rituals that signal the mind to move from normal mode to focused action. It could be a quick 2-breath reset, a specific hand motion, or quietly reviewing 3 priorities. Rituals reduce decision-making and prepare attention. Repetition gives them automaticity so they function like a switch in demanding moments. When facing tight time constraints, prioritize with ruthless clarity. Ask 2 direct questions: what matters most right now and what can wait. Answering these narrows options and prevents the paralyzing attempt to do everything. Focused action on the most important element usually produces disproportionate benefit. Manage inner dialogue carefully because words shape action under pressure. Replace frantic internal commands with short, clear directives such as steady breath or 1 small step. These compact phrases guide behavior without escalating nervousness. Practice developing a small vocabulary of calming commands that fit your own rhythm. An effective technique for high-pressure decisions is temporary suspension of judgment. In the first seconds of a crisis, gather facts quietly without committing to a full analysis. Make a provisional choice about the next immediate step and delay full judgment until more information arrives. This reduces snap errors made from partial data. Build tolerance to stress through progressive exposure. Push gently beyond comfort in controlled ways. Short-time challenges that require calm execution strengthen confidence. Each successful navigation increases belief in capability, which further stabilizes focus in future moments. Cultivate clarity by limiting unnecessary input during pressure. Reduce background noise, silence non-essential notifications, and close irrelevant tabs. The less clutter competing for attention, the more mental bandwidth available for essential processing. When others are involved, communicate with concise, composed language. Clear instructions reduce confusion and diffuse the spread of stress. Speaking slowly, measuredly, and with intention influences group tempo and encourages cooperative focus. Recovery after a high-pressure episode is part of the skill. Allow a brief window to breathe and reset before moving on. Review what happened with curiosity, not blame, noting 1 thing done well and 1 adjustment to try next time. This learning-oriented approach converts stress into growth. Developing calm focus requires regular practice of quiet attention. Short sessions of mindful presence build the capacity to notice distraction and return quickly. These sessions need not be long. Consistent repetition establishes the neural patterns that support presence in turbulent situations. Use environmental design to limit surprise and preserve composure. Clear procedures, checklists, and visible reminders reduce cognitive load at critical times. A simple checklist prevents common errors and frees the mind to concentrate on adapting to new variables. Train the emotional response to failure so it becomes informative rather than catastrophic. When outcomes are not as intended, note the immediate feeling, then redirect energy toward repairing or learning. This reduces the fear-driven spiral that amplifies pressure unnecessarily. Rely on cumulative small actions rather than dramatic fixes when under strain. Break complex demands into manageable segments and complete one segment at a time. This steady accumulation of progress stabilizes mood and maintains forward motion. Finally, understand that pressure will sometimes be intense and responses imperfect. The aim is not to be unshakable, but to be capable of steady action more often than not. Each time focus is recovered after distraction, the capacity grows. This incremental improvement creates a reliable foundation for making wise decisions when stakes are high. Chapter 19. Use intention, setting to guide energy, time, and effort. Intention is where effort gains direction and where scattered energy becomes useful work. Setting an intention clarifies what deserves attention and what can wait, and it transforms vague wanting into a plan for the day. The habit of deciding purposefully before beginning organizes time, conserves effort, and reduces regret at the end of the day. A clear intention acts like a map for limited resources, so decisions become easier and energy is spent on what matters. Start by defining a single outcome for the day instead of a long to-do list. Choose one objective that, if completed, would make the day meaningful. This narrows focus and creates a simple measure of success. Writing that objective in a single sentence anchors the mind to a clear target and prevents the common mistake of equating business with progress. Match tasks to natural energy rhythms. Identify periods of high alertness and assign the most demanding work to those windows. Reserve routine or administrative tasks for lower energy times. This alignment reduces resistance and increases output without lengthening work hours. Observing how energy fluctuates across the day offers a practical advantage when planning actions. Create implementation intentions using if-then statements. Decide in advance how to act when common obstacles appear. For example, if distraction arises, then close the browser and work for 20 minutes. If doubt increases, then list 2 small next steps and start with the first. These conditional plans shorten hesitation and replace indecision with automatic responses that protect momentum. Use short work rituals to prime attention. A brief sequence, such as 2 slow breaths, followed by reading the day's objective, prepares the nervous system and signals the brain to move from idle to focused mode. Repeating a ritual makes initiation easier and reduces friction that causes delay. Rituals are compact signals that organize behavior before any substantial effort is required. Design time blocks that pair intentions with fixed durations. A focused block of time with a clear intention outperforms flexible vague time because constraints sharpen priorities. During a block, remove temptations that compete for attention. Treat the block as a professional commitment to the chosen outcome and honor it as non-negotiable unless there is a true emergency. Break big intentions into the smallest possible next actions. Large goals stall because the first step feels undefined or heavy. A clear immediate action reduces resistance and produces momentum. The next small step can be completed in minutes, and its completion becomes the seed of consistent forward movement. Make use of visible reminders that reinforce the intention. A single sticky note on the workspace or a short phrase set as a phone lock screen acts as a cue to realign whenever attention drifts. External cues reduce the need for willpower by repeatedly bringing the chosen purpose back into view. Practice daily intention reviews at the start and close of the day. Begin by stating the main aim aloud and end by recording one result related to that aim. This 2-moment ritual creates accountability and allows quick course correction. Recording progress, even in modest terms, trains the mind to expect tangible outcomes rather than vague intentions. Optimize the environment to support chosen aims. Rearrange the workspace so the most used tools are within easy reach and sources of distraction are out of sight. Environmental friction often determines whether an intention becomes action. Reducing obstacles makes follow-through more likely without added effort. Use a priority filter to decide what to accept and what to decline. A simple test asks whether a new request aligns with the day's primary aim. When the answer is no, practice saying no or postponing politely and decisively. Protecting time is not selfishness. It is stewardship of limited capacity for what produces real value. Apply the principle of micro-commitments. Commit to 5 minutes of focused work when motivation is low. Often starting dissolves reluctance and leads to longer work sessions. Micro-commitments lower the threshold to action and build trust with oneself because promises remain easy to keep. Anchor intentions to identity statements. Instead of merely intending to write, use the phrase, "I am the kind of person who writes daily." Identity-aligned intentions influence decisions automatically because actions are consistent with the story being lived. This does not require bluffing. It asks for steady repetition until the identity is genuine. Use single outcome focus during meetings and conversations. Enter interactions with a clear aim, such as gather one decision or clarify one expectation. This keeps exchanges efficient and prevents time from being siphoned by irrelevant topics. Intention improves communication and reduces wasted minutes. Track a small number of intention metrics that matter. Choose 1 or 2 measures that reflect progress toward the primary aim and review them weekly. Measurement converts vague ambitions into objective evidence and reduces the risk of self-deception about where time went. Balance urgency and importance by assigning immediate intentions and longer-range ones. Some intentions require same-day action while others feed long-term goals. Reserve a protected weekly planning session to align daily intentions with broader aims. This prevents short-term emergencies from displacing strategic work permanently. Practice an end-of-session closure ritual. Before moving on, write one sentence summarizing what was done and what comes next. This clears mental residue and makes returning easier. Closure reduces the cognitive cost of task switching and preserves momentum across activities. Include recovery intentions to maintain sustainable effort. Intend to take a short walk after 2 focused blocks or plan a brief period of rest after intensive work. Energy renews performance. Scheduling recovery prevents burnout and ensures the quality of effort remains high. Train the habit of intention hygiene by keeping intentions specific, actionable, and time-bound. Vague intentions invite vagueness in action. Precise intentions reduce ambiguity and reduce the mental energy needed to start. Lead with values when choosing difficult intentions. When a decision between 2 competing tasks arises, ask which option aligns more with long-term commitments. This values-first filter reduces regret and creates coherence across days. Use real consequences to support intentions. Share key intentions with a trusted person and agree on simple accountability steps. Knowing that someone else will check progress changes the cost of neglect and increases the likelihood of follow-through. Allow for flexible adaptation when conditions change. Set intentions but remain willing to revise them with new information. Flexibility preserves momentum by preventing rigid adherence to a plan that is no longer relevant. Practice gratitude for completed intentions. Acknowledge the work done even when results are incomplete. Recognizing effort reinforces the pattern of setting and pursuing intentions rather than relying entirely on outcomes for satisfaction. Finally, commit to the habit of setting intention as a non-negotiable part of the daily routine. The cumulative effect of purposeful days compounds into meaningful progress. Intention turns fragments of time into coherent steps forward and converts scattered effort into a life that moves steadily toward chosen aims. Chapter 1. Reframe setbacks logically to learn, grow, and continue. Setbacks arrive in every life, unannounced and often unwelcome. They interrupt plans, challenge confidence, and create discomfort that can feel heavy and permanent. Yet setbacks are not punishments or failures in themselves. They are signals, feedback, and opportunities if the mind chooses to see them that way. Reframing setbacks logically transforms the emotional weight into insight, allowing learning, growth, and continued progress rather than paralysis or despair. This approach does not eliminate difficulty, but it removes unnecessary suffering and makes response intentional instead of reactive. The first step in reframing is separating fact from interpretation. A setback is an event or outcome. The mind quickly layers judgment, assumptions, and self-criticism on top. This layering creates frustration that far exceeds the original impact. Observing the event as it occurred without commentary creates clarity. The fact of a missed goal or unexpected result exists independently from the mental story built around it. Recognizing this distinction allows the next step: logical analysis. Logical analysis begins with asking precise questions. What exactly happened? Which actions contributed to the outcome? Which external factors played a role? Avoid vague blame or broad generalizations. Specific questions generate specific answers, and specific answers reveal where adjustments are possible. This step turns energy from regret into problem solving. Energy is conserved and redirected rather than wasted on mental spinning. Another crucial aspect is identifying patterns. Setbacks rarely occur in isolation. Reviewing previous experiences can reveal recurring mistakes or habitual responses. Patterns highlight opportunities for learning. Repetition without reflection leads to stagnation. Reflection reveals insight, and insight informs action. This practice transforms setbacks from random disruptions into structured feedback that accelerates growth. Shift attention from emotional reaction to practical consequences. While feeling disappointment or anger is natural, lingering in the emotional response prevents recovery. Use emotions as information about priorities, values, and investment, but do not let them dictate action. Emotional awareness combined with logical assessment creates a balanced response that is both honest and effective. Setbacks are also reframed by examining assumptions about permanence and scope. Often the mind treats a single failure as evidence that all similar efforts will fail. This exaggeration magnifies stress and discouragement. A logical perspective notes that one outcome does not predict all outcomes. It examines the scale of impact objectively and avoids catastrophic thinking. This keeps motivation intact and opens the path forward. Another technique is to extract 1 or 2 lessons from each setback. Instead of cataloging everything that went wrong, focus on actionable insight. What could have been done differently that is under control? What adjustments improve the chance of success next time? This narrow focus transforms a broad disappointment into manageable steps. Small changes compound into progress over time. Accountability enhances learning. When possible, review the setback with someone trustworthy who can provide perspective. Others often notice details that the individual misses. Constructive feedback strengthens logical assessment and reduces bias. Hearing alternative interpretations also helps prevent the mind from defaulting to self-criticism alone. Reframing includes recognizing effort. Even when outcomes are unfavorable, deliberate effort is not wasted. Effort builds skill, resilience, and understanding. Observing the parts of the process executed well balances the tendency to focus only on failure. Reinforcing what worked strengthens confidence and maintains momentum. Another important aspect is separating identity from outcome. A setback does not make a person incapable or unworthy. Linking self-worth to results creates vulnerability and fear. Viewing setbacks as external events influenced by actions and circumstances maintains self-esteem and encourages continued experimentation. Reframing also benefits from defining next steps immediately. Logical analysis informs what should happen now. Waiting or ruminating allows negative thinking to dominate. Taking controlled action creates forward motion and prevents stagnation. Even a small step demonstrates capability and reduces anxiety. Persistence is built through gradual exposure to setbacks. Each encounter handled logically strengthens tolerance. Over time, challenges provoke less emotional turbulence and more deliberate responses. The mind learns that obstacles are temporary and solvable. Resilience becomes a habit rather than a reaction. Setbacks also highlight gaps in preparation. They reveal areas where knowledge, skill, or resources are insufficient. Using setbacks as diagnostic tools shifts perspective from defeat to problem solving. This reduces fear and increases agency. Another method is to track setbacks and lessons in a journal. Recording what happened, why it happened, and what was learned provides a growing repository of insight. Reviewing this record over weeks and months reinforces growth and prevents repeating the same errors unknowingly. Reframing requires patience. Some lessons emerge only after repeated exposure or additional reflection. Accept that not all insight is immediate and avoid forcing meaning. Trust that careful observation and logical consideration will yield actionable understanding over time. Maintain focus on long-term objectives. A single setback should not rewrite the trajectory of meaningful goals. Use setbacks as temporary detours that provide information for course correction. Adjustments refine strategy without abandoning purpose. Cultivate an internal narrative of growth rather than blame. Reframe language to highlight development. Replace statements like "I failed completely" with "I learned something valuable that I can use next time." This subtle shift changes both perception and motivation. Setbacks also test decision-making under pressure. Approach them systematically, observe, analyze, extract lessons, plan, and act. Each cycle reinforces confidence and improves judgment. This methodical approach reduces stress and prevents impulsive corrective action that may create further problems. Finally, integrate reframing into daily reflection. At the end of each day, identify one challenge and examine it logically. What feedback does it offer? What adjustment is necessary? This routine turns setbacks into a continuous growth mechanism rather than isolated moments of discouragement. The chapter closes with the reminder that setbacks are inevitable, but suffering is optional. Logical reframing converts disruption into insight, disappointment into learning, and confusion into clear next steps. Each setback becomes an opportunity to grow, refine action, and continue forward with knowledge and resilience intact. Chapter 11. Commit to daily reflection to improve decisions tomorrow. Reflection is the bridge between experience and growth. Every day presents countless choices, actions, and reactions, yet most go unnoticed and unexamined. Without deliberate reflection, the lessons contained in daily life vanish, leaving the same mistakes and missed opportunities to repeat tomorrow. Committing to daily reflection transforms ordinary experiences into a continuous learning process, sharpening judgment, improving decisions, and strengthening awareness of patterns that influence outcomes. This practice does not require hours of effort or abstract contemplation. It requires focus, honesty, and structured attention applied consistently. Begin by setting a dedicated time for reflection each day. Even 15 minutes is enough if used deliberately. The key is consistency. When reflection becomes habitual, the mind begins to scan experiences automatically for insight throughout the day. Creating a quiet environment free from distractions enhances clarity and allows the mind to process events fully. Silence is not a luxury. It is a tool that creates space for observation and evaluation. Start reflection by reviewing specific actions and their consequences. Ask what was done, how it was done, and what resulted. Focus on observable facts rather than interpretations or judgments initially. Noting the sequence of events helps prevent emotional distortion from coloring memory and decision-making. Accurate recall is the foundation for actionable insight. Next, evaluate the effectiveness of each action. Did it achieve the intended outcome? Did it align with goals or values? Did it contribute positively to relationships or progress? Honest assessment requires courage, as it often uncovers areas where improvement is needed. Treat these observations not as failures but as opportunities to refine behavior and thinking. Identify patterns in behavior. Repeated actions and reactions reveal strengths, weaknesses, and tendencies that may not be visible in the moment. For example, noticing a tendency to respond defensively in high-pressure situations allows planning for alternative responses in the future. Patterns provide predictive insight that can prevent repeated errors and enhance consistency. Another aspect of reflection involves examining decision-making processes. Consider why choices were made in particular ways. Which assumptions influenced judgment? Were all relevant factors considered? Did emotions play a disproportionate role? This meta-cognitive approach trains the mind to notice its own tendencies reducing bias and impulsivity over time. Reflection should include consideration of opportunities missed as well as actions taken. Moments when hesitation or indecision prevented action contain valuable insight. Understanding the cause of inaction, whether fear, doubt, or distraction, highlights areas for growth and provides guidance for future decisions. Missed opportunities teach as clearly as outcomes achieved. Incorporate feedback from others into reflection. Honest input from trusted sources can reveal blind spots that personal observation cannot detect. Listening without defensiveness allows the mind to integrate external perspectives into self-analysis. Comparing personal perception with external observation refines judgment and increases accuracy. Document reflections in a journal or digital log. Writing concretizes thought, preserves insight, and provides a reference for future evaluation. Reviewing past reflections shows progress, reinforces learning, and prevents repeated mistakes. Over time, the record becomes a personal guidebook for improved decision-making. Use reflection to plan adjustments for tomorrow. Identify 1 or 2 specific actions to change based on today's observations. Focus on what is under direct control rather than external circumstances. Targeted adjustments prevent overwhelm and create achievable steps that produce tangible improvement. Incremental change accumulates into long-term transformation. Evaluate emotional responses during reflection. Identify moments where reactions were disproportionate or unhelpful. Understanding the triggers and patterns behind these responses allows planning for calmer and more deliberate behavior in the future. Emotional awareness is inseparable from practical decision-making. Reflection also includes gratitude and acknowledgement of effort. Recognize where effort, discipline, and skill were applied effectively. Celebrating small successes builds confidence and reinforces productive habits. Balanced reflection avoids discouragement and strengthens motivation for continued improvement. Another powerful approach is reframing setbacks encountered during the day. Analyze the event logically, separate emotion from fact, and extract lessons for next time. This process reduces the mental burden of failure and converts difficulty into practical insight that informs future action. Reflection can extend to anticipating tomorrow. Consider upcoming tasks, challenges, and decisions. Apply lessons from today to plan approaches, allocate energy, and prepare responses. Proactive reflection bridges the gap between experience and foresight, reducing reactive behavior and increasing intentionality. Maintain honesty and objectivity throughout reflection. Avoid rationalizations or overly harsh self-criticism. The goal is not to judge, but to understand. Clarity and accuracy are more valuable than temporary comfort or ego preservation. This disciplined approach strengthens the mind's ability to evaluate and improve without distortion. Daily reflection reinforces responsibility, recognizing that improvement stems from one's own actions rather than external conditions increases accountability. When patterns of success and failure are clearly visible, decisions become conscious rather than habitual. Responsibility enhances confidence and control over outcomes. Reflection also strengthens focus by clarifying priorities. Reviewing the day highlights which actions contributed to long-term goals and which were distractions. Awareness of effectiveness guides future planning and ensures energy is spent on what truly matters rather than reactive or scattered efforts. Over time, reflection cultivates a habit of anticipation. By regularly examining past experiences, the mind becomes adept at recognizing early signs of potential challenges and opportunities. This foresight allows for preemptive adjustments and more effective decision-making, reducing the chance of repeating avoidable mistakes. Consistency is critical. Reflection practiced sporadically produces limited insight. When performed daily, it accumulates subtle but powerful understanding. Each day builds a clearer map of behavior, thought patterns, and decision tendencies. The accumulation of these insights enables profound improvement over months and years. Reflection enhances mental resilience. Understanding why reactions occurred and how they can be improved reduces susceptibility to frustration or despair. The mind becomes a tool for guidance rather than a source of chaos. Preparedness and understanding replace confusion and helplessness. Finally, reflection deepens self-awareness and self-mastery. Observing thoughts, emotions, and actions in a disciplined manner allows the mind to recognize patterns before they dictate behavior. This recognition enables deliberate choice and aligns actions with values, goals, and long-term objectives. Daily reflection is not a passive habit. It is an active, transformative practice that ensures each day informs the next and each decision becomes more informed, deliberate, and effective. The commitment to daily reflection strengthens judgment, enhances clarity, improves decision-making, and builds consistent progress. Practicing it daily turns experience into wisdom, effort into mastery, and challenges into opportunities for growth. Reflection transforms the ordinary passage of time into a structured pathway toward continual improvement, allowing tomorrow's choices to be smarter, calmer, and more aligned with long-term goals. Chapter 12: Build resilience by managing thoughts during uncertainty. Uncertainty is a constant in life, and it tests both patience and resolve. Moments when outcomes are unclear, plans falter, or the future seems unpredictable create mental tension. The mind often reacts with worry, fear, or hesitation. Resilience is not the absence of these reactions. It is the ability to notice them, manage them, and continue acting with clarity. Building resilience during uncertain times depends on understanding how thoughts influence emotions and choices, and then training the mind to respond deliberately rather than reactively. The first step in managing thoughts during uncertainty is observation. When stress appears, note the specific thoughts running through the mind. Are they predictions about the worst-case scenario, doubts about capability, or assumptions about uncontrollable factors? Observing thoughts without immediately accepting them as truth creates space to respond rather than be driven by fear. Awareness interrupts the automatic escalation that often accompanies uncertain situations. Thoughts shape emotion, and emotion drives behavior. Negative projections about the future produce anxiety, which narrows attention and reduces problem-solving ability. Positive or neutral interpretations, even in challenging circumstances, create calm energy that supports creative responses. Recognizing this link allows the mind to intervene early. Choosing which thoughts to focus on becomes a tool for sustaining resilience rather than a source of helplessness. Reframing is essential. Replace catastrophic thinking with a logical assessment of facts. Distinguish between what is known and what is assumed. Challenge exaggerated predictions and focus on what is actionable in the present moment. Uncertainty rarely requires panic. It requires clear observation and deliberate choice. Shifting attention from imagined outcomes to controllable actions reduces mental strain and strengthens capacity for steady decision-making. Develop mental flexibility to respond to shifting circumstances. When uncertainty changes the parameters of a situation, rigid thinking creates frustration and stagnation. Flexible thinking allows adaptation, problem-solving, and the discovery of alternative pathways. Mentally rehearsing multiple approaches to challenges in advance builds preparedness and reduces surprise when plans require adjustment. Strengthen resilience by practicing small exposures to uncertainty. Purposefully place yourself in situations where outcomes are unknown but manageable. Each successful navigation of minor uncertainty trains the mind to tolerate ambiguity and strengthens confidence. Gradually increasing the level of unpredictability in controlled ways builds a resilient mindset without overwhelming the system. Establish routines that anchor the mind amidst unpredictability. Simple, consistent daily practices like structured planning, reflection, exercise, or breathing rituals create stability. These routines do not eliminate uncertainty, but they provide a reliable foundation that supports rational thinking and consistent action. In moments of disruption, the mind returns to familiar anchors, reducing panic and indecision. Focus on controllable variables. In uncertain conditions, attention often drifts to factors outside personal influence. Energy spent on uncontrollable elements drains mental resources. Identify what can be influenced, even if only partially, and prioritize action there. Directing effort toward controllable elements fosters a sense of agency and diminishes feelings of helplessness. Strengthening resilience requires managing internal dialogue. Replace statements like "I cannot handle this" with "I will handle this step by step." Replace unhelpful questions like "Why is this happening to me?" with practical questions like "What is my next move?" Language shapes perception, and deliberate phrasing reduces emotional amplification while guiding purposeful behavior. Build a mindset of learning rather than avoidance. Uncertainty is an environment where experimentation yields insight. Reframing challenges as opportunities to gather information and improve skills encourages action, even when outcomes are unknown. Learning-oriented thought reduces fear and strengthens confidence in facing future unpredictable events. Resilience grows through reflection after moments of uncertainty. After a challenge, review thoughts, emotions, and actions. Note which responses were effective, which were unhelpful, and what can be improved next time. This reflective practice transforms each encounter with uncertainty into a training session for the mind, creating cumulative skill over time. Prioritize patience and acceptance. Not every outcome is immediate, and not every situation can be resolved quickly. Recognizing limits of control allows mental energy to remain focused on what is actionable rather than wasted on resistance. Acceptance does not mean passivity, it means clarity in choosing responses within the scope of influence. Physical habits support mental resilience. Regular sleep, proper nutrition, and movement stabilize the nervous system, making thought management during uncertain conditions easier. Physical readiness allows the mind to stay clear and energy levels to remain adequate when decisions must be made under pressure. Neglecting the body amplifies mental turbulence and reduces adaptive capacity. Use visualization to prepare for uncertain scenarios. Mentally rehearsing potential challenges and imagining deliberate, composed responses reduces fear when similar situations arise in reality. The mind becomes familiar with adaptive responses, creating automaticity under stress. Visualization strengthens confidence and preserves cognitive clarity during real uncertainty. Focus on immediate next steps rather than distant outcomes. Breaking down challenges into manageable actions prevents overwhelm and maintains momentum. Each small success reinforces control and reduces the negative spiral of anxious thinking. Action reduces perceived chaos and strengthens resilience. Practice emotional labeling. Identify and name feelings such as fear, doubt, or frustration. Naming emotions reduces their intensity and prevents unconscious escalation. Awareness of internal states allows for deliberate management rather than reactive surrender to sensation. Emotional labeling supports reasoned decision-making under stress. Surround yourself with environments and people that stabilize rather than amplify uncertainty. Seek constructive input, encouragement, and objective perspective rather than panic-driven commentary. Social support buffers stress and reinforces rational thinking when events are unpredictable. Commit to repetition of these practices daily. Resilience is built gradually through cumulative reinforcement of observation, reframing, and deliberate action. Sporadic effort yields temporary results, but consistent training strengthens the nervous system and mind to withstand recurring uncertainty. Over time, the response to unpredictability becomes calmer, more measured, and more deliberate. Recognize progress in resilience as a gradual increase in capacity to tolerate ambiguity while remaining effective. Each encounter with uncertainty provides data, and every deliberate response strengthens internal control. The mind becomes a tool rather than a source of overwhelm. Mastery develops through repeated engagement with unpredictability under disciplined observation. Finally, remember that managing thoughts during uncertainty is not about controlling outcomes. It is about controlling attention, maintaining composure, and choosing purposeful action despite incomplete information. Resilience is cultivated by consistent effort, logical reframing, and disciplined management of internal dialogue. This skill turns uncertainty from a threat into an environment where adaptability, learning, and growth are reliably strengthened, ensuring the mind remains capable, focused, and unwavering under pressure. Chapter 13. Practice gratitude daily to shift mood, motivation, and focus. Gratitude is a practice that transforms how the mind perceives daily life. It is not about ignoring difficulties or pretending everything is perfect, but about intentionally recognizing what is present, useful, or positive. When practiced consistently, gratitude shifts mood, enhances motivation, and sharpens focus. The mind begins to notice opportunities instead of obstacles, progress instead of stagnation, and solutions instead of problems. This habit strengthens resilience and builds a mental foundation that supports clarity and purposeful action in all areas of life. Begin by observing small details that are often overlooked: the warmth of sunlight on the skin, the quiet moments of a morning, the reliability of clean water, or the sound of laughter. These seemingly minor experiences hold power when consciously acknowledged. Writing them down amplifies awareness, creating a tangible record of positives that would otherwise fade into the background. This simple recognition trains the brain to seek out benefits and resources rather than fixate on shortcomings. Daily gratitude can start with a structured routine. Take a few moments in the morning or evening to reflect on 3 things that went well or that you appreciate. Specificity enhances impact. Instead of vague statements like "I am grateful for life," choose details like "I am grateful for the conversation I had today," or "the fresh air I breathed during my walk." Specific recognition strengthens the connection between observation and feeling, making the practice more effective. Gratitude also shapes motivation. When the mind recognizes what is already good, it seeks to protect and expand these positive aspects. Motivation shifts from fear or obligation to desire and appreciation. The mind begins to focus energy on actions that sustain value and growth, rather than reacting out of pressure or avoidance. Motivation fueled by gratitude is enduring because it arises from acknowledgement of present benefits rather than distant or abstract goals. Use gratitude to redirect attention during challenges. When frustration or stress appears, intentionally note something positive connected to the situation. For example, if a task feels overwhelming, recognize the skill being developed or the resources available. This reframing reduces tension and promotes focus, transforming perceived obstacles into manageable steps. Gratitude reframes perspective without denying reality, making it a practical tool for action. Integrating gratitude with journaling reinforces the practice. Recording positive observations daily strengthens memory and deepens emotional impact. Reviewing previous entries creates a sense of accumulated progress and provides encouragement during difficult periods. This visual record reminds the mind that positive elements exist even when they are temporarily obscured by stress or challenge. Gratitude enhances emotional regulation. Recognizing what is available and functioning well calms the nervous system. Mood stabilizes, making responses measured rather than reactive. The mind becomes less likely to spiral into negativity or impulsivity. Practicing gratitude before decisions or conversations improves clarity and communication, because emotional interference is reduced and attention is grounded in observation of reality rather than anxiety. Social interactions benefit from gratitude as well. Expressing appreciation to others strengthens relationships and creates cooperative energy. A simple acknowledgement of effort, presence, or support fosters mutual respect and deepens trust. Positive interpersonal dynamics reduce conflict and improve collaboration, reinforcing focus and motivation in group endeavors. Gratitude interacts with physical energy. Moments of appreciation often reduce tension and increase vitality. The body relaxes when attention is drawn to positive aspects rather than stressors. Physical relaxation reinforces mental clarity, creating a feedback loop where calm energy supports thoughtful action. This connection highlights that gratitude is both mental and physiological, influencing performance in subtle but profound ways. Incorporate gratitude into daily routines beyond journaling. Take pauses throughout the day to recognize what is working or what brings ease. Acknowledging helpful colleagues, smooth transportation, or moments of creativity grounds attention and prevents focus from drifting toward complaint or frustration. These small, repeated recognitions accumulate into a persistent mindset that favors observation of value over fixation on lack. Gratitude also strengthens resilience during setbacks. Identifying aspects of the situation that remain positive or under control reduces feelings of helplessness. Even in failure, finding one actionable or encouraging element preserves energy for response and learning. The mind shifts from dwelling on loss to leveraging what remains functional, which improves problem solving and emotional stability. Combine gratitude with goal tracking. Recognize both progress achieved and opportunities created by previous efforts. This dual approach celebrates achievement and clarifies next steps, reinforcing motivation and guiding focus. Gratitude linked to tangible outcomes strengthens confidence and persistence because it connects acknowledgement with measurable movement forward. Challenge automatic negative thinking by deliberately noting benefits in situations where frustration arises. Each conscious choice to observe value over deficit strengthens mental flexibility. Over time, this reduces habitual pessimism and prepares the mind to respond to new situations with curiosity and composure rather than resistance or fear. Pair gratitude with intention setting. Before beginning a task, note what resources, skills, or advantages are present that increase the likelihood of success. This combination directs energy effectively and focuses attention on actionable elements rather than imagined deficiencies. Gratitude prepares the mind to act with clarity, enhancing both efficiency and resilience. Gratitude practices also enhance patience. Observing positive details or accumulated progress slows the tendency to demand immediate results. The mind becomes accustomed to recognizing incremental improvement, allowing consistent effort without frustration or burnout. Patience reinforces focus because attention remains on continuous movement rather than unrealistic instant outcomes. Teach the mind to notice positive surprises and ordinary benefits alike. Small occurrences often go unnoticed, but influence experience significantly. By regularly acknowledging these, attention shifts from deficit-based thinking to recognition of available resources. This strengthens problem solving because the mind becomes adept at identifying elements to leverage rather than obstacles to avoid. Use gratitude to balance ambition. While pursuing future goals, intentionally recognize what is already functional or valuable. This prevents anxiety-driven action and cultivates a mindset where effort arises from constructive energy rather than fear of lack. Gratitude does not replace ambition, it stabilizes it, ensuring sustainable focus and motivation. Finally, make gratitude inseparable from daily life. Consistent practice trains the mind to notice what is working, what is valuable, and what deserves attention. Mood stabilizes, motivation strengthens, and focus becomes sharper. Gratitude becomes the lens through which experience is interpreted, creating a foundation for deliberate action, resilience, and clarity. Over time, this practice rewires perception so that even in challenging moments, the mind naturally observes what is available, useful, and positive, sustaining energy and intention for continued growth. Chapter 14. Train mental discipline through simple, repeatable, daily practices. Mental discipline is not something that appears suddenly. It is forged through deliberate, consistent practice. It is the ability to direct attention, control impulses, and persist in focused action despite distraction, discomfort, or temptation. Discipline is not a trait reserved for a few exceptional individuals. It is a skill that grows through repeated engagement with simple, structured practices that train the mind to respond deliberately rather than react impulsively. Daily routines form the backbone of this skill, and the cumulative effect over time transforms behavior, thinking, and decision-making. Begin with micro-practices that are small but consistent. Choose one specific action each day that requires intentional focus or control. It could be waking at a fixed time, completing a short focused work session, or maintaining posture during exercise. The simplicity of the task is not the point. The point is repeated, conscious execution. Small victories reinforce the neural pathways that support self-control and create momentum for larger challenges. Consistency matters more than intensity in the early stages. Repeating manageable exercises daily strengthens the mind incrementally. The nervous system responds to repetition more effectively than to sporadic bursts of effort. Daily repetition teaches the brain that focused effort is normal, expected, and achievable, gradually increasing tolerance for mental discomfort associated with discipline. Structure the day to include deliberate attention exercises. Allocate short periods of undisturbed focus on a single task, resisting the temptation to multitask. These blocks teach sustained attention, improve cognitive stamina, and reduce susceptibility to distraction. Even 5 to 10 minutes of concentrated effort performed daily cultivates the capacity to remain present and engage during longer or more complex tasks. Incorporate reflection as part of discipline training. After completing a task, examine performance critically but constructively. Identify where attention drifted, where effort faltered, and what could improve. Honest review strengthens awareness of mental patterns and provides actionable insight for the next session. Over time, reflection itself becomes a disciplined habit that reinforces learning. Use environmental cues to support self-control. Remove distractions from the workspace, set devices aside, and establish signals that mark the beginning of focused activity. These cues prepare the mind for sustained effort and reduce friction between intention and action. Designing surroundings to favor discipline makes consistency easier and requires less willpower in each moment. Combine physical practice with mental discipline. Simple exercises such as posture alignment, deep breathing, or mindful movement strengthen the connection between body and mind. Physical control reinforces cognitive control, creating a feedback loop that enhances overall discipline. The body becomes a support system rather than a source of distraction or fatigue. Apply delayed gratification exercises. Intentionally postpone small pleasures to prioritize meaningful action. Completing a challenging task before checking notifications or consuming a treat trains the mind to defer immediate impulses for longer-term benefit. Repeatedly practicing this develops tolerance for discomfort, strengthens focus, and cultivates patience in decision-making. Track progress consistently. Maintain a log of daily exercises, noting adherence, challenges, and successes. Tracking transforms abstract practice into observable evidence of effort and growth. It also provides motivation and accountability, reinforcing the habit of mental discipline by making progress visible. Train the mind to notice intrusive thoughts without acting on them. When distractions or impulses arise, acknowledge them and return attention to the chosen focus. Repetition of this process strengthens executive control and builds resilience against habitual reactivity. Mental discipline thrives on repeated engagement with resistance rather than avoidance. Integrate planning exercises into daily routine. Begin each day by outlining priorities and committing to specific tasks. The act of creating a plan reinforces structure, clarity, and intentionality. Following the plan builds followed through, while deviations offer opportunities to practice adaptive discipline rather than rigid obedience. Introduce incremental challenge to maintain growth. As mastery of simple exercises increases, gradually increase complexity or duration. This ensures the mind continues developing without plateauing. Gradual escalation balances difficulty with capability, reinforcing discipline through manageable yet meaningful effort. Incorporate accountability mechanisms. Share intentions or progress with a trusted partner or track performance publicly. Accountability provides external reinforcement that complements internal motivation, increasing adherence to disciplined practices. Knowing that effort is observed strengthens commitment and reduces the tendency to rationalize shortcuts. Use interruptions deliberately to train resilience. When unforeseen events disrupt routine, observe the reaction and redirect focus intentionally. Each interruption handled without losing composure strengthens adaptive discipline and reinforces the mind's ability to recover quickly from distractions. Develop rituals around key daily practices. Repetition paired with ritual reduces cognitive friction and signals to the mind that a period of focused work has begun. Rituals create automaticity that supports long-term habit formation while minimizing reliance on fluctuating willpower. Combine reward and acknowledgement with disciplined practice. Recognize the effort applied rather than only the outcome achieved. Celebrating adherence reinforces the neural pathways associated with control and increases motivation for continued practice. Rewards should be intentional and structured, not arbitrary, to avoid undermining discipline. Train consistency in thought patterns alongside action. Observe internal dialogue during challenges and correct negative or wandering thoughts. Redirect attention to the task, goal, or principle guiding action. This dual training, controlling both behavior and thought, strengthens comprehensive mental discipline. Integrate discipline practices into multiple contexts. Apply the same principles to work, health, relationships, and learning. Transferring skill across domains reinforces adaptability and demonstrates the universal value of mental discipline. This cross-application prevents compartmentalized development and encourages holistic mastery. Reflect periodically on the cumulative effect of daily practice. Observing growth reinforces belief in the process and strengthens motivation. It also highlights areas requiring adjustment, ensuring that practices remain aligned with evolving goals. Awareness of cumulative progress transforms repetition from routine into a transformative journey. Finally, commit to simplicity and repetition. Mental discipline is not built through occasional intensity or complex strategies. It emerges from repeated engagement with small, structured, intentional actions that train attention, control impulses, and reinforce consistency. Daily practice compounds into lasting self-mastery, resilience, and effectiveness. Over time, the mind becomes reliable, focused, and capable of sustaining deliberate action even in the face of distraction, challenge, or discomfort, creating the foundation for continual growth and achievement. Chapter 15c. Create clear goals that direct thinking, action, and persistence. Clear goals are the foundation of purposeful action and sustained progress. Without defined objectives, energy disperses, attention fragments, and effort becomes inconsistent. Goals serve as a compass for thinking, guiding decisions, shaping behavior, and sustaining persistence even when challenges arise. The process of creating clear goals begins with clarity of intention, moves through precise articulation, and solidifies through consistent review and adjustment. A goal must be specific enough to direct action, meaningful enough to motivate, and flexible enough to adapt to changing circumstances. Start by defining what matters most in life. Reflect on personal values, priorities, and desired outcomes. Goals rooted in authentic values generate intrinsic motivation, which sustains effort when external rewards or immediate results are absent. Authenticity ensures the mind is engaged, making action feel purposeful rather than forced. This alignment transforms effort into meaningful progress. Next, translate abstract intentions into concrete statements. Avoid vague aspirations such as "I want to improve" or "I want success." Instead, specify measurable outcomes and clear parameters. For example, committing to read 1 book per month or increase savings by a defined amount within 3 months provides clarity. Clear articulation eliminates ambiguity, directs attention to actionable steps, and allows progress to be tracked objectively. Break larger goals into smaller, manageable milestones. Long-term objectives can feel overwhelming and may cause procrastination. Dividing them into incremental steps creates achievable checkpoints that maintain momentum. Each milestone reinforces progress and builds confidence. This structure also allows for flexibility, as adjustments can be made without derailing the entire objective. Use visual representation to strengthen goal clarity. Writing down goals, creating charts, or using visual boards solidifies mental focus. Seeing a goal concretely engages the mind continuously, making it easier to prioritize actions that align with it. Visualization of outcomes reinforces motivation and helps the mind connect daily effort with long-term results. Timeframes anchor goals in reality. Assign deadlines to objectives and milestones. Deadlines create urgency without panic, encouraging steady, deliberate effort. They also provide a mechanism for evaluation and reflection, allowing assessment of progress and necessary adjustments. A goal without a timeframe remains abstract and loses the capacity to guide action effectively. Anticipate obstacles while setting goals. Consider potential challenges, resource limitations, or distractions. Planning for these contingencies strengthens persistence by reducing surprises and preventing discouragement. Knowing in advance how to respond to difficulties allows focus to remain on solutions rather than obstacles, sustaining momentum toward completion. Connect goals to daily action. Identify the specific behaviors, habits, and routines that contribute directly to progress. Break these behaviors into repeatable tasks that can be integrated into the day consistently. Daily alignment ensures that each moment contributes meaningfully to objectives and prevents drifting into reactive or unproductive activity. Regularly review and adjust goals. Circumstances, knowledge, and priorities evolve over time. Periodic assessment ensures objectives remain relevant, realistic, and motivating. Adjustments do not indicate failure, but demonstrate adaptability and strategic thinking. Goals function best when they are living directives rather than static statements. Integrate accountability mechanisms to reinforce commitment. Share objectives with trusted individuals, track progress publicly, or establish self-monitoring routines. Accountability strengthens adherence, provides external reinforcement, and encourages consistent evaluation of effort. Knowing that performance is observed increases focus and reduces the temptation to divert energy away from important tasks. Leverage intrinsic motivation by linking goals to personal significance. Goals pursued solely for external reward often falter when difficulties arise. When objectives resonate with personal values, identity, or sense of purpose, persistence becomes more natural. The mind engages fully because the outcome carries meaningful consequence beyond immediate gain. Clarify priorities among multiple goals. Not all objectives carry equal weight or urgency. Identifying which goals require immediate focus and which can progress gradually prevents diffusion of effort. Prioritization strengthens decision-making, ensures energy is concentrated effectively, and enhances consistency in progress. Maintain a balance between challenge and attainability. Goals must stretch capabilities to inspire effort, but remain realistic enough to be achievable. Overly ambitious targets create frustration and reduce persistence, while easily attained goals fail to stimulate growth. The optimal balance produces motivation, focus, and sustainable progress. Use reflective practice to guide goal-directed behavior. At the end of each day, evaluate actions taken in relation to objectives. Identify which behaviors advanced the goal, which fell short, and what adjustments are needed tomorrow. Daily reflection turns abstract goals into actionable learning and strengthens the link between intention and execution. Reinforce goals with affirmations or mental rehearsal. Repeating specific statements or visualizing desired outcomes strengthens mental focus and conditions the mind to notice opportunities that align with objectives. The mental rehearsal enhances readiness, reduces hesitation, and ensures decisions consistently support intended results. Avoid overcomplicating goals with unnecessary detail. Clarity thrives on simplicity. Clearly stated objectives are easier to recall, act upon, and evaluate. Complex or convoluted goals create cognitive friction, increasing the likelihood of procrastination and distraction. Simplicity strengthens focus and streamlines execution. Leverage feedback as a mechanism for refining goals. Monitor results, observe outcomes, and remain receptive to correction. Feedback transforms goals from static ambitions into adaptive pathways that guide behavior intelligently. Integrating feedback ensures that persistence is directed effectively rather than expended blindly. Train persistence through repeated small wins. Achieving milestones reinforces confidence and creates momentum. Each success, no matter how minor, signals capability to the mind, strengthening determination to continue toward larger objectives. The accumulation of consistent effort compounds into meaningful progress over time. Anchor goals in present action rather than distant outcomes. Focus on what can be done today to move closer to the objective. This reduces overwhelm, improves attention, and ensures energy is applied effectively. A long-term goal functions as a guide, but daily action determines actual progress. Finally, connect goals to broader purpose. Understanding why an objective matters in the context of personal growth, contribution, or legacy provides enduring motivation. Clear goals direct thinking, organize actions, and sustain persistence. When clarity, alignment, and consistent effort converge, objectives become not just desired outcomes but practical frameworks that shape daily choices, decisions, and behaviors toward continuous advancement and meaningful achievement. Chapter 16. Observe inner dialogue. To replace harmful patterns deliberately, the mind constantly produces a stream of thoughts that influence perception, decisions, and behavior. Many of these thoughts occur automatically, repeating patterns learned over time, often without conscious awareness. Some of these patterns are constructive, guiding focus, action, and growth. Others are harmful, reinforcing fear, self-doubt, and limitation. Observing inner dialogue deliberately is the first step toward replacing harmful patterns and creating a mental environment that supports clarity, resilience, and purposeful action. Awareness of the conversation within the mind allows the opportunity to intervene, choose responses consciously, and redirect energy toward constructive outcomes. Start by creating space to listen to your inner dialogue. The mind often runs at a rapid pace, blending thoughts with emotion and perception. Pausing, breathing, and focusing attention allows recognition of recurring phrases, judgments, or narratives. These may include self-criticism, worry about the future, or assumptions about inadequacy. Observing them without immediate reaction builds awareness. Awareness alone interrupts unconscious repetition and begins the process of deliberate change. Record thoughts during observation. Journaling or using a voice memo can help identify consistent patterns over time. Writing transforms fleeting impressions into tangible content that can be analyzed. Repeated exposure to documented thoughts highlights recurring harmful patterns that might otherwise remain invisible. Once patterns are visible, they can be challenged and reshaped purposefully. Distinguish between fact and interpretation in inner dialogue. Many harmful thoughts present themselves as objective reality, but are interpretations filtered through emotion or bias. For example, a thought like "I always fail at tasks" is a generalization rather than an absolute truth. Separating perception from fact allows the mind to respond logically instead of reacting impulsively. This distinction is crucial in replacing harmful patterns with constructive ones. Challenge recurring negative statements. Ask whether the thought is accurate, helpful, or relevant. Questioning the validity of self. Limiting dialogue interrupts automatic repetition. Replace exaggerated, catastrophic, or defeatist language with neutral or constructive alternatives. The replacement should be realistic, actionable, and aligned with desired behavior. This deliberate reframing rewires the mind over time, reinforcing adaptive thinking. Use mindfulness to anchor observation. By focusing on the present moment, intrusive or harmful thoughts are less likely to dominate attention. Mindfulness creates distance between the thinker and the thought, allowing choice rather than reaction. Observing a thought as transient rather than defining prevents harmful narratives from dictating decisions or emotions. Associate each harmful thought with a deliberate counter-statement. For example, if the mind asserts "I am not capable," replace it with "I can learn and improve through effort." The repetition of these counter-statements strengthens constructive patterns and diminishes the influence of automatic negativity. Over time, positive alternatives become the default response, reducing stress, doubt, and hesitation. Pay attention to triggers that activate harmful inner dialogue. Certain situations, people, or tasks may provoke recurring negative patterns. Identifying these triggers allows proactive preparation. Anticipate the onset of unhelpful thoughts and consciously deploy constructive counter-statements or grounding techniques. Preparedness strengthens resilience and prevents harmful dialogue from derailing action. Practice metacognition by observing not only what the mind says, but also how it says it. Notice tone, intensity, and emotional charge behind thoughts. Thoughts delivered with anxiety, urgency, or self-criticism carry more power to influence behavior. Recognizing the emotional weight enables deliberate modulation, reducing automatic reaction and increasing clarity. Implement short daily exercises to train the mind. Allocate specific times to observe inner dialogue for a few minutes, recording and assessing patterns. Repetition of this practice builds awareness and strengthens the capacity to notice harmful thoughts in real time. Daily engagement ensures gradual but consistent transformation of mental habits. Visual cues or reminders can support deliberate observation. Sticky notes, phone alerts, or objects in the environment can prompt attention to inner dialogue throughout the day. These external triggers strengthen habitual awareness and encourage timely intervention when unhelpful patterns arise. Recognize the interplay between thought and emotion. Harmful dialogue often amplifies negative feelings, while constructive thoughts stabilize mood and enhance decision-making. Shifting inner dialogue deliberately creates a feedback loop. Calmer thoughts reduce emotional turbulence, which in turn supports clearer thinking and more deliberate action. Develop self-compassion alongside observation. The purpose is not to judge the mind for producing harmful patterns, but to guide it toward improvement. Compassion reduces resistance and defensiveness, making the process of replacement more effective. A patient, persistent approach accelerates adoption of constructive dialogue. Integrate reflective questions into observation. Ask what purpose the harmful thought serves, whether it reflects truth, and how it affects behavior. Such inquiry shifts focus from automatic acceptance to analytical engagement, providing clarity and fostering deliberate change. Reflection transforms observation into a tool for personal growth. Anchor replacement thoughts in action. Linking constructive dialogue to specific behaviors reinforces both thought and habit. For example, replacing "I cannot handle this" with "I will take one step at a time" aligns thinking with practical action. Thought and behavior reinforce each other, producing measurable progress in mindset and performance. Observe the evolution of inner dialogue over time. Track patterns, note improvements, and adjust counter-statements as necessary. Seeing progress strengthens motivation and reinforces the habit of deliberate observation. It also demonstrates that mental patterns are changeable, reducing feelings of helplessness and increasing agency. Apply structured breathing or brief meditation when observing particularly intense harmful thoughts. Controlling physical response reduces emotional escalation and supports logical intervention. Breathing techniques stabilize attention, allowing clear evaluation and conscious replacement of destructive dialogue. Engage in mental rehearsal to strengthen replacement patterns. Anticipate challenging scenarios and practice responding with constructive inner dialogue. Repetition prepares the mind for real-world encounters, reducing automatic reversion to harmful patterns. This rehearsal reinforces both awareness and deliberate response. Combine observation with external feedback. Trusted peers or mentors can offer perspective on patterns that may be blind spots. Comparing self-perception with external observation enhances clarity and supports accurate assessment of harmful dialogue. Integration of feedback accelerates mental adaptation and improves effectiveness. Finally, recognize that observation and deliberate replacement is an ongoing process. The mind continually generates thoughts, and patterns can re-emerge under stress or new circumstances. Consistent practice, daily engagement, and committed attention ensure that harmful dialogue is diminished, constructive patterns strengthen, and the mind becomes a tool for clarity, decision-making, and purposeful action. Deliberate attention to inner dialogue transforms the internal environment, making thought a source of guidance, focus, and growth rather than limitation or distraction. Chapter 17: Align values with choices to experience meaning and progress. Values are the compass that guide decisions, behavior, and purpose. When actions are disconnected from personal principles, life can feel disjointed, unmotivated, and unfulfilling. Alignment between values and choices creates coherence, enhances motivation, and produces a sense of meaning in every action. Understanding what truly matters is the first step in ensuring that each decision supports long-term growth, satisfaction, and resilience. Values act as internal standards that help prioritize attention, focus energy, and direct behavior in ways that lead to consistent progress. Begin by identifying core values. Reflect on the qualities, principles, and beliefs that feel essential to identity. Consider experiences when satisfaction, pride, or fulfillment was at its peak. What guided decisions in those moments? Observing these patterns helps isolate authentic values. Listing them concretely rather than vaguely anchors awareness and allows for clearer comparison with daily choices. Once values are clarified, evaluate current behaviors against them. Daily routines, habits, and decisions often drift from foundational principles unconsciously. Take stock of where alignment exists and where it is lacking. This evaluation illuminates patterns of compromise or distraction and highlights opportunities to redirect effort. Honest assessment builds awareness and creates a baseline for deliberate change. Prioritize actions that reflect values. Not every task or obligation contributes equally to what is truly important. Distinguish between activities that advance values and those that merely consume time or energy. Allocate attention, effort, and resources to actions that reinforce core principles. Prioritization ensures consistency, reduces wasted energy, and strengthens motivation. Use values as a guide for difficult decisions. In situations of uncertainty, conflict, or pressure, refer to core principles as a reference point. Values act as a stabilizing framework, helping avoid impulsive choices driven by temporary emotion or external influence. This ensures actions remain purposeful and consistent, even under stress or distraction. Integrate reflection practices to maintain alignment. Periodically review choices, behaviors, and outcomes to confirm they remain consistent with values. Adjust routines, decisions, or strategies when misalignment is detected. Reflection strengthens self-awareness, reinforces discipline, and ensures that effort is not wasted on actions that undermine long-term fulfillment. Communicate values through behavior consistently. Alignment is demonstrated not only in intention but in observable action. Actions that reflect principles reinforce self-trust and credibility, both internally and with others. Consistent demonstration of values strengthens identity and ensures external circumstances support internal alignment rather than creating conflict. Address situations where current choices contradict values. Identify specific behaviors that undermine principles and determine actionable steps to correct them. Even incremental adjustment strengthens alignment and builds momentum. Recognition and correction prevent the erosion of integrity and preserve clarity of purpose over time. Embed values into goal setting. Goals rooted in personal principles are more motivating, sustainable, and resilient against obstacles. When objectives align with values, the mind engages naturally, persistence increases, and decisions consistently support progress. Alignment ensures that outcomes are meaningful rather than arbitrary, fostering long-term satisfaction. Leverage values to guide time management. Time is finite, and how it is allocated reflects priorities. Choosing activities that resonate with values maximizes both productivity and fulfillment. Scheduling tasks based on principle rather than urgency prevents energy drain and reduces the likelihood of engaging in distractions or obligations that provide little meaning. Anticipate external pressures that challenge alignment. Social expectations, work demands, and cultural norms may conflict with personal values. Recognizing potential conflicts in advance allows proactive strategies to maintain consistency. Establish boundaries, communicate clearly, and design routines that support principle-based action rather than capitulating to external pressure. Use values to evaluate opportunities. When considering new projects, relationships, or endeavors, assess whether they reflect or advance core principles. Decisions guided by values reduce regret, ensure focus, and strengthen motivation. Opportunities aligned with principles are more likely to generate meaningful engagement and measurable progress. Develop self-discipline through values-based commitment. When choices are anchored in principle, persistence becomes less dependent on fluctuating motivation. Values provide a steady reference point that guides behavior consistently, even when challenges arise or energy is low. Discipline is strengthened because actions are no longer arbitrary, but intentionally connected to purpose. Observe emotional responses as indicators of alignment. Positive feelings of satisfaction, pride, and fulfillment often occur when behavior matches values. Conversely, discomfort, guilt, or frustration can signal misalignment. Using emotions as feedback allows real-time adjustment and reinforces conscious connection between principles and actions. Apply deliberate rituals that reinforce values. Daily practices, check-ins, or symbolic acts that reflect core principles maintain awareness and strengthen integration. Rituals make alignment habitual, reducing the need for constant conscious effort while maintaining consistency in thought and behavior. Recognize the cumulative impact of alignment over time. Consistently choosing actions that reflect values compounds into meaningful progress, skill development, and personal growth. Each aligned choice reinforces self-confidence, focus, and clarity. Over time, alignment becomes second nature, producing steady, purposeful momentum in life. Balance flexibility with principle. While values remain constant, strategies and actions may need to adapt to changing circumstances. Flexibility ensures continued effectiveness without compromising integrity. Adjust approaches thoughtfully while preserving adherence to core principles, maintaining both progress and meaning. Integrate values with long-term vision. Reflect on how present actions contribute to the life and identity one desires to cultivate. Alignment ensures that immediate choices support larger objectives, creating coherence between day-to-day behavior and overarching goals. This connection strengthens motivation, clarity, and resilience. Leverage accountability to maintain alignment. Sharing principles and corresponding actions with trusted peers, mentors, or supportive communities reinforces consistency. External accountability complements internal commitment, provides perspective, and encourages adherence to values even under pressure. Finally, embrace alignment as an ongoing practice rather than a one-time achievement. Life evolves, circumstances shift, and awareness deepens over time. Continuously observe choices, refine understanding of values, and adjust behavior to maintain coherence. Alignment between values and choices produces meaning, strengthens focus, guides deliberate action, and ensures consistent progress. This practice transforms everyday decision-making into a purposeful framework for growth, resilience, and fulfillment. Chapter 18. Protect attention fiercely to improve learning performance and peace. Attention is the most valuable resource the mind possesses, yet it is constantly under siege by distractions, interruptions, and unintentional habits. How focus is managed determines not only learning and performance, but also emotional stability and mental peace. Protecting attention is not about rigid control or avoidance of stimulation. It is about consciously directing mental energy toward what matters most, preserving cognitive clarity, and reducing unnecessary mental friction. Each act of attention invested purposefully compounds over time, improving skill acquisition, decision-making, and overall life satisfaction. Start by recognizing what steals attention throughout the day. Notifications, background noise, internal chatter, and habitual scanning of social media fragment focus and create cognitive overload. Becoming aware of these drains is the first step in regaining control. Observation allows conscious choice about what deserves attention and what can be ignored or postponed. Awareness transforms passive distraction into deliberate allocation of mental energy. Create physical environments that support uninterrupted focus. Dedicated spaces for work, study, or reflection reduce exposure to competing stimuli. Clear surfaces, organized materials, and minimal clutter enhance the mind's ability to maintain attention. Environmental structure reinforces the practice of directing focus intentionally, turning the surroundings into an ally rather than a source of friction. Use temporal boundaries to protect mental energy. Schedule periods for deep work without interruption. Define specific start and end times for tasks that require concentration. The mind performs optimally when it knows that dedicated, uninterrupted windows exist. Temporal boundaries create mental expectation and reduce fragmentation caused by constant task switching. Apply intention before beginning any focused activity. State clearly what is to be accomplished, why it matters, and what success looks like. Intention anchors attention by connecting the task to purpose, preventing wandering thought. A clear directive transforms ordinary activity into deliberate practice, strengthening mental engagement and ensuring energy is not dissipated by aimless effort. Learn to identify and control internal distractions. Thoughts, worries, and habitual mental loops often interrupt attention without external triggers. Observing the mind and gently redirecting focus back to the task at hand strengthens cognitive control. Training attention internally builds resilience against mental drift and preserves clarity during complex learning or performance tasks. Prioritize tasks based on importance and cognitive demand. High-value activities deserve undivided attention, while less critical tasks can be delegated or postponed. Strategic prioritization ensures that cognitive resources are applied efficiently, reducing wasted effort and preventing unnecessary depletion of mental energy. This approach enhances both performance and satisfaction. Incorporate break strategically. Attention cannot remain intense indefinitely. Fatigue reduces effectiveness and increases error. Short pauses, movement, or controlled breathing restore mental energy while preserving overall focus. Scheduled recovery supports sustained performance rather than uncontrolled mental drift caused by exhaustion. Limit multitasking deliberately. The human mind is optimized for serial attention rather than simultaneous effort. Switching between tasks reduces retention, increases error, and creates mental strain. Focusing on one task at a time maximizes learning, accelerates skill development, and maintains emotional equilibrium. Use technology thoughtfully to guard attention. Turn off unnecessary notifications, mute non-essential alerts, and create periods without digital interruption. Digital discipline protects cognitive space and reinforces the habit of directing focus consciously rather than reacting to every external prompt. Technology becomes a tool rather than a source of distraction. Practice mindfulness to strengthen attention. Mindfulness exercises train the ability to notice when the mind drifts and to return to a chosen focus without judgment. Repeated practice enhances both awareness and control, improving capacity for concentration in learning, work, and personal reflection. Mindfulness also cultivates mental peace by reducing reactive thought patterns and stress. Apply selective attention in learning. Focus on one concept, skill, or task deeply before moving to the next. Concentrated study or practice improves comprehension, retention, and mastery. The depth of engagement achieved through focused attention far outweighs shallow, scattered efforts, producing measurable progress in performance. Use environmental cues to maintain focus. Signals such as specific music, lighting, or workspace arrangement can act as triggers to enter a state of concentrated effort. Repeated association of cues with focus strengthens habitual attention and reduces cognitive resistance when engagement is required. Observe attentional lapses without judgment. When focus drifts, note the lapse, gently redirect attention, and continue. This non-judgmental approach prevents frustration from interrupting performance and preserves mental equilibrium. Over time, lapses decrease as the brain adapts to consistent training in conscious attention. Integrate attention, protecting habits into daily routines. Start the day with a review of priorities, allocate blocks of focused work, and conclude with reflection on what was achieved. Structuring time around protected attention reinforces discipline, reduces wasted energy, and enhances both learning and emotional well-being. Train the mind to resist impulsive engagement. When sudden stimuli arise, pause before reacting. Decide whether the interruption aligns with goals or can be postponed. This practice strengthens self-control and ensures that mental energy is spent intentionally rather than scattered by reactive behavior. Combine focused work with reflective evaluation. Assess how attention was applied, which moments were productive, and where improvement is possible. Reflection consolidates learning, identifies inefficiencies, and sharpens future focus, creating a cycle of continuous enhancement in both performance and mental clarity. Protect attention in social interactions. Avoid engaging in distracting conversations or situations that fragment focus unnecessarily. Choose interactions that are meaningful, aligned with goals, or supportive of mental peace. Guarding attention socially preserves energy for high-priority tasks and strengthens the ability to maintain concentration in other domains. Anchor focus in breathing or bodily awareness when distractions occur. Returning to physical sensation helps stabilize the mind, reduces stress, and restores concentration. Attention supported by physical grounding is more resilient to cognitive drift and emotional perturbation. Recognize attention as a finite and renewable resource. Guarding it fiercely does not mean resisting all input, but choosing deliberately how energy is allocated. Each act of conscious attention strengthens neural pathways for focus, deepens learning, improves performance, and fosters a sustained sense of calm and control. Finally, make protection of attention a daily commitment. Allocate energy intentionally, minimize distractions, and direct focus to what is meaningful. Over time, the consistent application of this principle transforms mental capacity, enhances learning, sharpens performance, and cultivates lasting peace of mind. The discipline of guarding attention creates the conditions for excellence, clarity, and resilience in every aspect of life. Chapter 19e. Act with consistency to reinforce identity, confidence, and growth. Consistency is the engine that transforms intention into reality, shaping identity, building confidence, and driving growth. Acting with consistency means showing up deliberately, repeatedly, and with purpose, Even when motivation fluctuates or obstacles appear, it reinforces who you are by linking your actions to your values, beliefs, and goals, turning abstract intentions into tangible patterns of behavior. Identity is not declared but demonstrated through repeated acts. Each consistent choice strengthens self-trust, clarifies priorities, and reinforces the belief that you are capable of following through on what matters most. Begin by identifying behaviors that align with your core principles and desired outcomes. Focus on actions that are meaningful and directly contribute to long-term objectives. Consistency in these behaviors reinforces identity by repeatedly affirming who you are and what you stand for. Small daily actions accumulate to form habits, routines, and ultimately a lifestyle that reflects intentional growth. Design a routine that integrates high-impact behaviors into everyday life. Repetition builds automaticity, reducing the reliance on fluctuating willpower. When actions become habitual, consistency is easier to maintain and less mentally taxing. Structured routines also create predictable opportunities for progress, ensuring that growth is cumulative and measurable. Start small to guarantee sustainability. Overcommitting or attempting drastic change often leads to burnout or failure. Identify manageable behaviors that can be executed reliably and repeatedly. Mastering consistency with small, meaningful actions establishes a foundation for expanding effort into larger, more ambitious endeavors. Each success strengthens confidence, creating momentum that supports continued action. Track performance to reinforce accountability and awareness. Logging actions, reviewing achievements, and monitoring adherence provides concrete evidence of consistent effort. Visibility of progress builds motivation, enhances self-efficacy, and allows for timely adjustments. Tracking also transforms abstract intentions into concrete proof of capability, strengthening identity and reinforcing growth. Link consistency to self-perception consciously. Recognize that each deliberate act communicates a message to the mind about who you are. When actions align with values and goals, self-image is strengthened. Conversely, neglecting consistent behaviors erodes identity and undermines confidence. Awareness of this connection motivates deliberate practice and nurtures the self-reinforcing cycle of growth. Focus on the process rather than immediate results. Growth, skill development, and identity reinforcement occur through repeated practice, not instant achievement. Emphasizing the act of consistent engagement shifts attention from outcome anxiety to deliberate effort. Over time, mastery, confidence, and tangible progress naturally emerge from sustained repetition. Embrace discipline as the backbone of consistency. Motivation fluctuates naturally, but discipline ensures that action continues despite discomfort, fatigue, or distraction. Developing structured systems, reminders, and cues strengthens adherence to chosen behaviors. Discipline transforms consistency from occasional effort into a reliable, automatic pattern that supports identity and growth. Use reflection to refine consistent action. Periodically evaluate which behaviors are truly impactful, which are less productive, and where adjustment is needed. Reflection ensures that consistency does not become rote repetition, but remains strategic, intentional, and aligned with evolving goals. Adaptation preserves the effectiveness of consistent effort and strengthens long-term progress. Address setbacks proactively. Consistency does not imply perfection. Missed actions or deviations are inevitable. Respond by recommitting, analyzing causes, and adjusting routines to prevent recurrence. Viewing interruptions as opportunities to strengthen resolve reinforces resilience, self-trust, and persistence. Recovery from disruption is itself an act of consistency and growth. Anchor consistency and identity by associating actions with the type of person you want to become. Consider statements such as "I am disciplined," "I am committed," or "I am capable." Each act performed in alignment with this self-concept strengthens identity, making future consistent behavior more natural and automatic. Identity and action reinforce each other in a mutually amplifying cycle. Integrate consistency across multiple areas of life. Habits, work, learning, relationships, and health all benefit from repeated, purposeful action. Coordinated consistency produces synergy, enhancing overall growth and reinforcing self-perception as a reliable, capable individual. Cross-domain application ensures holistic reinforcement rather than fragmented effort. Use accountability mechanisms to support consistent action. Share goals with trusted peers, mentors, or support networks. External observation enhances commitment, provides feedback, and reduces the likelihood of rationalizing missed actions. Accountability strengthens discipline and motivates adherence to behaviors that reinforce identity and growth. Recognize the cumulative power of small, consistent actions. Even seemingly minor choices executed repeatedly contribute to skill development, resilience, and long-term success. The mind internalizes patterns over time, reinforcing self-image and confidence through repeated demonstration of commitment and capability. Pair consistency with intention. Actions repeated mindlessly do not guarantee meaningful growth. Align each behavior with purpose, values, and strategic objectives. Deliberate alignment ensures that consistency directly advances identity, builds competence, and generates tangible outcomes. Balance rigidity with adaptability. While repeated action is essential, circumstances evolve, requiring adjustments. Consistency does not mean blind adherence, it involves strategic, flexible commitment to core behaviors while adapting methods to maximize effectiveness. This approach maintains progress without compromising relevance or alignment with goals. Cultivate patience alongside consistency. Transformation, skill development, and confidence are products of time and repeated effort. Avoid seeking instant results or becoming discouraged by gradual progress. Trust that sustained, purposeful action compounds over time, reinforcing identity and producing meaningful growth. Observe the psychological effects of consistent action. Each completed behavior reduces self-doubt, strengthens resolve, and produces measurable progress that reinforces self-efficacy. Confidence grows naturally when effort is repeatedly demonstrated and results accumulate. The mind internalizes proof of capability through repetition, creating a resilient sense of personal competence. Link consistency to habit formation. Repetition strengthens neural pathways, automating behavior and reducing cognitive resistance. The more a behavior becomes automatic, the less effort is required to maintain it. Habitual consistency frees mental energy for higher order decision-making, creativity, and further growth. Finally, commit to the principle that identity is constructed through repeated choice. Consistency transforms intention into visible, measurable reality. Each deliberate act reinforces self-concept, strengthens confidence, and contributes to ongoing development. Long-term growth emerges not from sporadic effort or occasional insight, but from the relentless, purposeful, and habitual practice of acting in alignment with values, goals, and desired identity. Consistent action builds a self-sustaining cycle of mastery, competence, and fulfillment. Chapter 20. Integrate mind training into life for lasting positive change. Mind training is not a temporary exercise, but a continuous practice that shapes thought, behavior, and perception over a lifetime. Its purpose is to cultivate clarity, discipline, resilience, and intentionality, allowing individuals to navigate life with focus, confidence, and purpose. Integrating mind training into daily life transforms abstract concepts into habitual practice, creating lasting positive change that influences every decision, action, and response. The key to integration lies in deliberate repetition, conscious awareness, and alignment of mental practice with real-world priorities. Start by establishing simple daily routines that include mental exercises. Activities like focused breathing, mindful observation, or reflective journaling embed intentionality into ordinary moments. These practices strengthen the mind's capacity to notice patterns, regulate responses, and prioritize meaningful action. Over time, consistent engagement forms mental habits that persist without requiring constant effort or external prompting. Observe thought patterns throughout the day. Awareness of recurring narratives, emotional responses, and automatic judgments allows conscious intervention. Recognizing negative, self-limiting, or scattered thought provides the opportunity to replace them with constructive alternatives. Deliberate observation is the cornerstone of mind training, transforming unconscious mental activity into a tool for growth and adaptability. Integrate reflection into daily activities. Reflect on decisions, reactions, and emotional responses to identify alignment with values and objectives. Daily reflection reinforces learning, illuminates patterns, and highlights areas for improvement. This process ensures that mind training is not isolated but embedded in practical life situations, creating actionable insight and measurable personal growth. Link mental practice with goal-directed action. Intentional thinking alone is insufficient if not paired with consistent behavior. Apply the insights gained from observation and reflection to decisions, habits, and routines. Every action guided by deliberate thought reinforces training, strengthens cognitive control, and advances objectives systematically. Integration occurs when thought and action operate in concert. Cultivate resilience through deliberate mental conditioning. Exposure to stress, uncertainty, and challenges is inevitable, but trained minds respond with clarity rather than reactivity. Practice techniques that enhance emotional regulation, focus, and problem solving. Mental resilience supports persistence, protects against discouragement, and ensures that setbacks become opportunities for learning and adaptation. Use attention strategically, protect focus from distractions, and allocate cognitive energy to high-value tasks. Structured periods of concentration, supported by environmental cues and time management, strengthen mental endurance and improve performance. Integrating attention management into daily life maximizes learning, efficiency, and the quality of output, reinforcing the benefits of mind training consistently. Adopt habits that reinforce mental discipline. Repetition of structured practices creates automaticity, reducing the reliance on motivation alone. Daily exercises in focus, reflection, and intentional action strengthen neural pathways that govern attention, self-regulation, and decision-making. Habitual reinforcement ensures that mental training persists even during periods of fatigue, stress, or external disruption. Connect mind training with emotional intelligence. Observe emotional responses, identify triggers, and consciously choose responses that reflect values and goals. Training the mind to regulate emotions enhances clarity, reduces impulsive behavior, and improves interpersonal interactions. Integrating emotional regulation into everyday situations produces both inner stability and more constructive external outcomes. Practice selective attention to optimize learning and performance. Direct mental energy to relevant tasks and ideas while minimizing engagement with distractions or irrelevant stimuli. Consistent application of this principle improves retention, comprehension, and the ability to execute complex tasks efficiently. Selective focus ensures that mental effort produces tangible, lasting results. Reinforce training through visualization and mental rehearsal. Anticipate challenges, simulate decision-making, and imagine effective responses in advance. Rehearsal strengthens neural pathways and prepares the mind for real-world situations. When practiced consistently, this technique reduces hesitation, improves execution, and consolidates learning into habitual patterns of thought and behavior. Integrate accountability systems. Share intentions, track progress, or partner with a mentor to maintain adherence to mental practices. External feedback and observation complement internal discipline, providing perspective, motivation, and reinforcement. Accountability enhances the likelihood of sustained integration and ensures consistent application of mind training principles. Evaluate progress regularly. Set aside time to assess how mental practices influence behavior, decision-making, and emotional responses. Adjust techniques, refine routines, and reinforce strategies that produce tangible benefits. Evaluation ensures mind training remains relevant, effective, and aligned with evolving life objectives. Anchor mental practices in values and priorities. Align exercises, focus areas, and reflection with personal principles to ensure that mind training is purposeful and meaningful. When mental discipline is connected to what truly matters, engagement deepens, persistence increases, and results resonate with long-term growth. Use incremental challenges to strengthen cognitive flexibility. Gradually increase complexity, duration, or intensity of mental exercises to expand capacity. Exposure to progressively demanding situations trains adaptability, concentration, and problem-solving under varying conditions. Incremental advancement ensures steady development without overwhelming the mind. Apply deliberate pauses and mindfulness during the day. Short moments of reflection, controlled breathing, or focused attention restore clarity, prevent mental fatigue, and reinforce conscious control. Integrating micro, practices ensures that mind training is continuous rather than isolated, producing cumulative benefits throughout daily life. Cultivate gratitude and positive framing in thought. Observing and intentionally redirecting attention to constructive perspectives strengthens resilience, motivation, and overall mindset. Positive mental framing enhances both perception and response, reinforcing adaptive behavior and supporting sustained growth. Embed learning from experience into mental routines. Reflect on successes, failures, and observations to extract lessons. Integrating this insight into practice transforms ordinary experiences into catalysts for improvement, ensuring that life itself becomes part of the mind training process. Maintain consistency as the foundation of integration. Repeated, deliberate application of mental practices transforms temporary effort into enduring cognitive patterns. Consistency bridges the gap between theory and implementation, reinforcing identity, capability, and confidence over time. Recognize the holistic nature of mind training. Thought, emotion, behavior, and attention are interconnected. Practices that develop one aspect influence the others, creating a comprehensive system of improvement. Integrating mind training into life ensures that these components operate synergistically, producing sustained positive change. Finally, approach mind training as a lifelong commitment. Lasting transformation arises from persistent, deliberate, and integrated practice rather than isolated effort. By embedding awareness, reflection, emotional regulation, focus, and intentional action into daily life, the mind becomes a reliable instrument for clarity, resilience, and growth. Integration transforms knowledge into skill, effort into habit, and intention into results, creating enduring positive change across all areas of life.